press and public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. If you're able, please join me in standing for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for the beauty of the day and thank you for this opportunity to serve this great community. Just pray that you would guide our conversations and decisions and discussions tonight. And thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Nicole, you want to do roll call?
Absolutely. Councilmember Cohen.
Here.
Councilmember Myers. Here. Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Councilmember Bogosian.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Pierce.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll. Here. Councilmember Miller. Here. Mayor Pounds.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item is citizens' comments.
Sue Cotton.
Good evening. Sue Cotton, resident of IOP, Sand Dollar Drive. I've continued to attend or watch every public meeting since January, hoping I'd learn more facts around first responder compensation and gain more confidence in how the city plans to solve the retention and safety risks we have on the island. I also thought after April's town hall and administration meeting that the council was supportive of getting away from good enough to becoming competitive with first responder pay. Since those meetings, I've continued to watch the frustration and hurling of ill remarks toward council members, residents, and supporters of this important issue. We seem to be spinning information to the point council, residents, and supporters are so confused we're not really sure what to believe, except our new hires will make $54,000, and we're implementing incentives as far as they'll go with the budget given. There are also so many unanswered questions and concerns that need to be clearly addressed. You, council, and various committee people have the responsibility to be transparent in the data, the numbers, and the process, so that your residents and employees feel confident our compensation programs are fair, equitable, and competitive. What is not acceptable is to share snippets of data pulled from spreadsheets that aren't made available to everyone. You don't want personnel, fellow council members, and residents to figure it out. We don't have all the data. The questions are simple, and I haven't been able to answer them with the information provided. What is the 100% compensation range for our first responders? Not just new hires, but at all levels. Once I have that, I can do the math myself. I know how to take the base times 60, 70, 80%, which is what we're driving for. How many of our personnel fall below the 80%, and why? Are incentives part of the 80 percentile we're trying to reach on top of it? What are the benefit costs the city is paying, and are you including that benefit pay in the 80th percentile? These questions matter. Please answer them and provide our chiefs with the tools and training to administer a simple and equitable compensation plan. Stop making this so difficult for all who care, and most of all, our first responders. If it's difficult to explain and measure, I can promise you it's going to be difficult to administer. Our departments have enough to worry about right now with heading into the busy season. Please do the right thing and bring more transparency to the process, the value of the increases, and most importantly, your decisions. A simple white paper would be great. It would quiet the confusion and help everyone understand. Thank you.
Julie Nessler.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Sue. Julie Nessler, Alpams. Before you vote on any raise or salary adjustment, you have a responsibility to the taxpayers and to our first responders to know and to disclose exactly what each firefighter and police officer makes now and what they would make under this proposal by rank and by step. When you refuse to show those numbers, you are not just being opaque, you're breaking trust. Right now, many residents believe that some on council are managing this process behind closed doors, hiding key data, and shutting down questions from their own colleagues. That perception is not going away, it's actually hardening. If you proceed without full public disclosure of the Evergreen data, the complete solution file, and the real percentile impacts across all ranks, the public will conclude that you are manipulating this process to reach predetermined outcome. I'm telling you that if you vote on this pay package without putting every relevant number and assumption on the table first, you will trigger a backlash. Citizens will not quietly accept a decision they believe was rigged. They will organize, they will file FOIA requests, and they will press for outside review because they no longer trust you to police yourselves. If you hide the numbers and ram this through, you are choosing division over transparency and trust. If you want to restore any confidence, you must put every piece of data, every change to the Evergreen analysis, and every impact on each rank into the open before you cast your votes. Anything less will confirm that this council has chosen secrecy over accountability, and the residents of this island will respond accordingly. How can council claim to value first responders as your most valuable resource while advancing a pay plan that rewards vacancies more than the people currently answering the call? I have a letter here to council. I don't get much responses, so Mayor Pounds, I'm giving you my letter to council to pass out to all council members so I know that it's read, okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Patsy?
Patsy Heineman, Barnacle Road. I'm here tonight because some of you ran on transparency. This process has been anything but transparent. I sent an email to all of you with questions about some statements that some of you have made. 4 of you chose not to respond. So tonight I'm going to repeat those questions to at least get them on the record. The first has to do with the Evergreen study, which said that if we were to increase the pay to $53,045, we would be competitive at the 60% level. Yet, the result from the admin committee, when they came forward with their $54,000 recommendation, $900 more, was that somehow magically that would put us competitive at the 80 to 90% range. So my question is, how can that be? That question has not been answered. Several of the Evergreen slides said that we are competitive at the lower levels, but we lose ground as we go up through the individual grades. So a question was asked by one of the council members, how competitive are we as we go up through the grades? The answer is in the solution file. This mysterious solution file that somehow we as residents are not allowed to see because it has sensitive data. Maybe it does have some sensitive data, but what is sensitive about telling us how competitive this plan is at the upper ranges? That should not be sensitive data. Then we have an innuendo that was dropped, that it's not just pay, it's culture and management. Maybe it is, but I think that statement was made by someone who has not spent 1 minute of time talking to any of the rank and file firefighters. I don't know how you can make that claim without talking to them. Then I have a question about the incentives. I think incentives are a good thing. We should all be excited to have them, but it looks to me like they're limited. There are only a certain number at each of the different types of qualifications that can qualify. So suppose 3 of the people have already qualified, but you want to qualify too, you don't get it. I also don't know, are these incentives just a one-time bonus, or are they addition to salary? There are a lot of things about the incentives that have kind of been glossed over because incentives are such a good thing, supposedly. I just don't know how we're supposed to trust you with so many unanswered questions, things that have been stonewalled. And when there's so many questions just surrounding firefighter pay, it makes you wonder if we took a deeper dive into the other pay categories, would we find even more questions? I don't know. All I know is that I'm confused. I don't like what I'm seeing from this. I don't know, I would like to ask you, how many people have come to you and said, we're okay with the retention and recruitment problems. We don't want you to pay any more than what's in that plan? Is that what you're hearing? Because if you're hearing from people who are saying that, you're not hearing from the same people I'm hearing from who are very unhappy with this plan. Thank you.
Sarah Vega.
Sarah Vega, Sparrow Drive. I'm under no illusions that anything that I say tonight is actually going to change how you budget as a council to compensate our city employees. Thus far, most of you have clearly shown that cells on spreadsheets and already out-of-date qualitative data come from consultants or are the only things that influence your decision-making. In public service, that's not being a fiduciary, that's a failure. Anyone with a master's degree in public administration like me will certainly be familiar with a concept called bounded rationality. It's here to remind all of us that as council, it is 100% impossible for you to gather all of the facts and to make decisions within the time constraints that you've been given. You are humans, you're not superheroes. So how great would it be if you had non-council members standing up here trying to present you with additional data? What a gift it would be if our employees would say, oh, this is why I left and went to another city. Wouldn't it be nice if you as council members could choose to appoint a citizen task force to study issues and come to you with a plethora of ideas, including ideas related to public safety employee compensation? These things have actually already happened. For all of you, but especially for the 7 of you who have been on council for some time, why do you continue to ignore the voices that are here to try to help you? We have a council that allowed an administration committee to sit idle for months last year because there was no new business, despite alarm bells being rung multiple times. We have a council member publicly celebrating a $1 million investment in our employees. Those employees can clearly see that we have $55 million in the bank, and they can also see that we are about to invest tens of millions of dollars in sand that will leave our shores faster than we're losing employees. It's also being implied that our retention problems are a culture problems. I do agree, but it has nothing to do with our chiefs, and it has everything to do with council showing employees year after year in this room that they are just numbers, expendable, apparently not our most valuable assets. The culture problem is in this room right here because we have decision makers making business manager decisions instead of public servant leadership decisions. And I'll close with this. I want to let all of our city employees know, and especially those working in our police and fire departments, the Vega family sees you. I supported my husband working 24-hour duty days when he was in the Air Force. I supported him sitting alert for 48 hours to get called in the 47th hour and be expected to work at 100% for 24 more. I can't even count the number of times that he was called in for mandatory overtime exercised by the government, turning what should have been 4 days of essential rest to do his job well into 2. We see the high burden that we have placed on our first responders. And as much as we'd love for you to stay, the Vega family 100% supports you if the time comes for you to vote with your feet, simply because our community can't find a way to compensate you commensurate with the risk you take and the service that you give.
Is that it? Yes. Thank you. Next item is presentation. Chris Wynn, Director from Lovello. Chris? Chris, I think you have some slides. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. Good evening, everybody. Chris Wynn, MUSC Hollings Cancer Center and Director of Lovello. We are back to approach council to request, permission, consent, and support to host the 8th annual Hollings Cancer Research Ride called Lovello. So we've outlined a plan and submitted the plan that's almost rinse and repeat from last year. We're looking at a couple of potential route options, but nothing that would be significantly different at this time. And really, we want to say thanks for continued support of letting us do this ride and host this ride and finish line celebration here at the Isle of Palms. As of the 7 years we've run the event, we've now raised about $4.5 million for research at the Cancer Center. 2 of that came in the last 2 years, and so this event is both a meaningful source pilot research funding for Hollings, right? But it's also become a pillar event. And as a cyclist and as a resident of the greater Charleston area, it's something that I certainly know we have a lot of constituents that appreciate and enjoy, and it is not possible without y'all's support. So we don't expect to have any additional burdens on Chief Oliveris and Cornett. The real kicker for us is that we're going to grow the event very strategically, again, at 10 to 15%. We've got systems in place that we believe we've stress tested multiple times over the last several years to accomplish the end result, which is fundraising, but also a very safe event and something that's become a city standard for protocol and how to conduct events. So, the big thing here you can see is, a standing track record of growth and development, and it's not just from adding more people. This is a peer-to-peer event. It's really the only peer-to-peer fundraiser for the MUSC Foundation and MUSC at large, right? And this comes from people who come back year after year who get better at asking friends and family for support, employers for support, and effectively becoming better fundraisers every year, as well as maybe better on a bicycle, but certainly helping our researchers do a lot of work. That's the director of the Cancer Center right there. He comes and rides every single year. That guy's been published more times than most cancer directors in the country. He's an incredible research physician, Dr. Ray Du Bois, right? And he believes in me to help produce this event. He believes in this event. There's a ton of us that believe in the work that his research team is doing, and this event is directly supporting that. If there's another slide, go for it. Yeah. We certainly had a lot of good promotion from this event last year. We more than doubled the amount of publicity and exposure for Hollings and for the event through a lot of free publicity and a lot of great storytelling, a lot of community involvement. We know that directly benefits Isle of Palms as well. People know that this event is happening here. They know where it is, and we're proud to tell them about the partnership and the support that we receive from the city. All told, you guys have this in your packet. I think it's great data. I'm happy to answer any questions at any time about it. But again, thank you for, last year was the most successful event we had. I got to see many of you there. If nothing else, this is always an opportunity I like to take to say thanks, because you guys really do help make it happen. The staff is unbelievable. The support we get from the city is unbelievable. The experience becomes unbelievable because of that foundation. Yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, later. Well, the vote that we'll do later is just to have the street closures and beer and wine for, it's not till November 7th, I think. This year.
November 7th. It's the first Saturday in November every year, and we jumped effectively a week. So this will be the first time we do it after daylight savings time.
Gotcha.
Which actually means we can start earlier, which means we'll kind of finish earlier. All of those things, help. I think we had the last rider across the finish line last year at 3:20, 3:22. He was actually one of the researchers for Hollings, and he likes to ride this thing in his school clothes with a backpack like a jerk. Took him all day, 80 miles.
Chris, y'all have had every version of weather at this event.
We
too,
have.
haven't you?
We've had. We've been lucky the last three. So I'm going to knock on everything made of wood. But
Careful, we've had termite damage. Don't hit
it too hard. Deal. No, it's been good. Again, the weather's been great, and I think at this point we've established is that it's not really an event; it's a tradition. It's one that we want to keep going. It's one that our riders want to keep going. And if we do that, we don't have any reason to believe that it won't continue to grow in a way that we can manage it, in a way that still provides access to the Cancer Center in a way that's not just a diagnosis and a call to your doctor, right? So it really instills a lot of hope in that community. And it's one of the only places you can be on a bike or out in the parking lot, having a barbecue sandwich with the researcher, the head of the Cancer Center, an oncologist, a nurse, a patient, someone who's mourning a loss, and someone who just found out. It's just everybody's there on the same playing field.
And our 106-year-old residents on the usually in it.
Mama Gruder, she did it. She rode that stationary bike for 6 minutes, and she sang everybody's song. It was really something to behold. So we'll keep having her come sing as long as she's willing.
Chris, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for what you do. Yep. Next item is recommendation from our Beach Preservation Committee. Dietmar Rosterman is our chairman. Dietmar?
Good evening, Mayor Pounds, City Council members. Thank you for having us here tonight. Dietmar Ostermann, I live on Four Commons Court at the north end of the island. I have right here behind me the almost entire beach committee. I want to point out Wendy Pasterik because she is sharing the presentation with me. She is the vice chairman of our committee. We asked for the opportunity to present to you before you're making important decisions today and maybe in the coming weeks as it relates to the beach renourishment. And I wanted to run by you and explain to you some of these recommendations that we have out for you. Is the presentation that we have in your file or not? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's start with that. So our number one recommendation is to adopt a new definition of what a healthy beach looks like. Not that the old one wasn't perfect, wasn't good enough. It was very hard to understand. And we researched what some of the other towns and beaches have defined, and 200 feet of dry sand is what Hilton has defined as a standard and what we believe people can easily understand, as opposed to cubic yards and this and the other. And ideally, 200 feet of dry sand during the majority of a renourishment period. So if you're thinking now 8 years that a renourishment should last, we would like to have the 200 feet of dry sand not only in year one, but ideally throughout the majority of those years. And that definition really goes to where you measure from. And after discussing this with various experts and reading all the reports that were presented by various engineering firms and the work that was done over the years, we believe the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services baseline is the right line to measure from. These 200 feet, except for those instances in Wild Dunes, in the two critical spots at Beachwood East and at the Ocean Club, where the house is already closer to the water than those lines. That's where you have to measure from the house line. And if you do that, that has obviously some implication of what's the amount of sand that you have right now on the beach, and you will see in our calculations in the presentation here that we believe the deficit is larger than originally assumed. We also did wrestled with the calculation of the erosion rate, because obviously when you're doing a renourishment project, you not only want to fill the deficit, but you want to put as much sand on the beach that during the 8 years until the next project may come around, the erosion is factored in. And we believe that the erosion rate has been increasing and is critical right now. So going back 8 years or going back 12 years is not serving the purposes when the erosion has accelerated. That's why we agreed in the committee to stand by an erosion rate of the last 5 years, which again is higher than what has previously been calculated. So that's why we are pointing that out and wanted to talk to you here tonight. Number two of our recommendation is to increase the planned renourishment at least to the project volumes of the higher end of the permit, 2.5 million cubic yards. That seems to be, everybody that we talked to seems to be agreeing to that, because the sand is at a price that you can probably never see again, and therefore taking the larger of these volumes to compensate for the deficit that we have in the erosion rate seems logical. Our third recommendation then is to actually increase the renourishment. I think we have the old presentation that may be a little bit confusing. So the third recommendation really is to increase this volume over and above the 2.5 million. The 2.5 million was the amount that was calculated based on old data. If you're using the latest data, the deficit in the south end is higher The erosion rate in the south end is higher. The north end is almost the same, and that adds up to another 500,000 cubic yards of sand needed. So that's why we are recommending to the council, if obviously the financial situation of the city allows, notwithstanding many other demands for the city's money, to utilize this opportunity of getting the sand at a discounted price to increase the volume to 3 million cubic feet, which will increase the amount to be paid by about 4 million. Then our recommendation number 4 is when you consider the amounts of sand set aside for the north and for the south, let's give the direction to the contractor not to change that. Right, we want to see that the amount of sand really is placed in that amount to the south and to the north, because there has been very little renourishment that happened in the south, and we are afraid that over the last few years, and we are afraid that these amounts that are really needed may not be placed in the areas where we needed them to. So that's recommendation number 4. Recommendation number 5 is very simple, and that is consider choosing Marinex as a contractor. We already sent that recommendation to you earlier after one of our meetings, and that is based on the fact that they are a good company, a local company. They've worked with CSE before, and the price is outstanding, and we have all the confidence in the world that at that price, that's the right choice for council to make. So now, Wendy wanted to give you a little bit more detail on the 2 important topics. One is, how did we define that healthy beach? And what is the difference in the deficit that we calculated, and what's the difference in the erosion rate that we calculated? And I'm going to hand over to Wendy.
Rose, do you have the file that we sent you Monday? I just resent it as well. It's called the Quick Study. This is going to be a funky presentation if I'm speaking from different slides. And
That's the one you sent out to council either today or yesterday.
I think you sent it Monday right after I sent it to you.
Joshua, do you have that? I don't.
Is there a way that you could get it to Josh so that we can do this? I have pictures.
So you sent me,
That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you can go to the, Dietmar just went over that first page. We can come back to it if you need it to, but let's do the second page.
Wendy, could you put, come, yeah. There you go.
Dietmar's taller than me. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I'm not going to talk you through like every detail of what we came up with. Instead, we thought we would discuss some of the questions that came up from conversations with Stephen and Douglas and David on our committee, and that might be the better way to try and get our arms around this. So the first is just a picture of what sort of a little bit of the south end of the island and getting towards the middle of the island looks like in terms of what the beach profile is. So measuring from the structure line, which is kind of the way we've been doing things in the past, I drew a little black line and then you couldn't see it, so then I drew a yellow line over it. So you can see that's the structure line. For a lot of the south end of the island, it kind of follows that line that's on the left. And then when you get to the 21st Avenue, where there's that curve in the road on Palm Boulevard, houses sort of jump back from the beach. So what we're talking about switching is from a structure line to a baseline. So the baseline in this picture is that blue line. Can you guys see that? Or red line, sorry. Red line is baseline, blue line is setback. Okay? So this is what we're talking about. This is the 2018 line. So we're talking about a healthy beach being kind of, that line forward. If you do measure it from a structure line, you're including some private property that tourists can't go to and enjoy. So that's a concern of the beach. We want to have a healthy beach for tourism to support our economic livelihood on the island. And then there was a conversation too about, is this treating everybody fairly? The structure line treats people more fairly. And so I kind of took a look at that, and I'm not sure I felt comfortable with that. You've got people at different points of where they're at relative to the beach. The people that are in the middle of the island are set pretty far back from the beach, so the structure line would cut back in, so it treats everybody to sort of the minimally acceptable level, and that didn't seem like a good recommendation for the families that live in those areas either. Any questions on any of that? Alrighty, you want to go to the next one? Okay, so we wanted to create a recreational beach. Again, the entire committee is pretty unified about, this is really about supporting tourism. And then if you protect the beach with tourism, you're simultaneously protecting property. And that's consistent with South Carolina. In 2018, we switched gears legally from a retreat policy to a hold the line. So this would be sort of catching up and being consistent with that as well. Dietmar kind of mentioned this on the north end. You've got Beechwood East and the Grand Pavilion. Those structures are on the wrong side of the baseline, if you will. They're seaward of the baseline. So you really do need to stick with structure line for that small stretch of beach. If you go further north, Ocean Club, baseline and structure line are the same. From Breach Inlet to 56th Avenue, pretty much all homes and pools are landward of that 2018 baseline. So we're recommending measuring from a structure line on the north end, because that makes sense, but on the rest of the island, and measuring from a structure really ends up in a lack of recreational beach. So the next slide shows pictures of the concern. So under our current beach definition, looking at the February survey data, what we see is that on the south end, the two reaches combined are defined as healthy. We had a Army Corps renourishment, and we got 300,000 cubic yards of sand that stuck. What we're finding is that a lot of the beach is sort of way far out and flat. And what's happening is that the ocean is coming up at a 5.3 tide day, at a 6-foot tide day. And this is what we're seeing. These pictures were snapped at a 6.3 foot tide day. That's according to the tide chart. If you set it to the pier, I think Stephen said that it was actually more like a 7-foot tide day. So that's what these pictures represent here. On the far south, it's kind of dark. I don't know if you can see. That's at the far south end of the beach. And the water is lapping up against the sandbanks that we've got. 510 Ocean is in the middle there. There's a very small dune. It doesn't even sort of go up, so you can't even tell you're looking at a dune when you look at it. If you were to put the dune back, you would have no beach and you would be having dune erosion. Given that the dune isn't really there, you've got a 5-foot beach on that particular day. And then the last slide on the right is the Windjammer. There's this kind of channel of ocean that's cutting in from maybe, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd Avenue. It's running all the way up to the Windjammer. And so you can see the volleyball net is kind of where it's reaching there. It never used to go up that far, and now we're experiencing even greater erosion driving through. Next slide. Okay, so when you talk about where do we sit today on the deficit, so you saw on the left side, this is their current definition, cubic yards of sand measured from the structure, and we measure it all the way out to minus 13 nav, so it's like, I don't know, 800,000 feet out, something like that, into the ocean. On the south end, the calculations are 16,000 cubic yards of deficit. On the north, 183,000 cubic yards deficit. We asked Stephen if he could rerun those cubic yards of deficit, but doing it under the Hilton Head and the Dare County sort of best in class definition, 200 feet of sand from the baseline. And then on the north end, we know that we're still doing from the structure line. And so those measurements on the south end is significantly higher deficit rate, 440,000 in the north end, 384,000. So that's what we're dealing with. The next slide is If you want to figure out what you want to do for nourishment, you say where you're at today, what's my deficit, what do I think is going to happen over the project 8 years, and then that. Combine those two, and that's your total. So this is the advanced fill calculations. We recommend using recent erosion rates for both ends of the island. On the south end, we've had 2 second opinions, both CPE and FOTH come in and say that they think that there's some structural changes that occurred at the breach inlet, and that looking at a historical rate back to 2010 probably doesn't make sense for what may be happening in the future. So advanced fill, cubic yards, the north is pretty much the same number that they've been using, which is 1.6 million cubic yards, no change there. That was based on a 2018 and forward rate. And I think there's a shoal adjustment assumption that's embedded in there. And then on the south end, we're recommending a bump up to 712,000 cubic yards using a 5-year erosion rate through to February 2026. It includes, or 2025, sorry. It includes a little bit of the Army Corps sand, but not enough to skew the data. So that's instead of the 264,000 cubic yards that was based on an erosion rate all the way back to 2010 when we were basically stable on the island at that point in time. And this is just slightly more than what was put through into the permit in terms of advanced fill assumption of the 560,000. So a slight bump up from the permit assumption. Any questions on that? I'm cranking through this fast. Are you all following me okay? Okay. So you would take the deficit and the advanced fill, and then that total would be what you would want to do for the renourishment. So the left column is what is in the permit max. So I combined the two reaches on the north. So that's 1.7 million cubic yards is the permit max. And on the south, that's 800,000 permit max. So that total is 2.5. So if you were to say, okay, let's enact this new Healthy Beach definition, if that would inform us, what would we do? We would say that would increase it by another 500,000 cubic yards. On the north, it would bump up by 194,000 cubic yards, and on the south, another 352,000 cubic yards. I know we've got money problems, so we get that this is like in a perfect world, what would you do? So the trade-offs are, would you want to throw another $4 million at it, or would you say, let's try and do some other things to maintain what we've got? So there's different ways to skin the cat to come up with what you think getting to the Healthy Beach would be. So that is if you throw sand at the problem alone. The next page is sort of the what-if analysis. So obviously we have Olson doing some alternative analysis for us, which includes structures as well as do nothing, et cetera. One of the things that they'll be looking at is groins or breakwaters. So if you were to do those, that would extend the project life beyond the 8 years. If you did the $3 million, extra $4 million case, you would extend the life, from 8 years to maybe something like 12 years or whatever. Or the alternative would be maybe you don't spend that extra $4 million up front now, and then you try and get a structure in as fast as possible so that you can reduce your financial spend today, and you spend it with something that holds the sand in place. The concern with that is that we don't really know what the regulatory environment is. We don't have the FOTH analysis yet. So this is something that you guys get to struggle with in terms of how to manage that. One of the things that we did look at is what's the cost of, if you were to delay it and not spend the money now, you've got $1.9 million of mobilization costs. There is some money, about $700,000, I think we spent on the permit. If you get yourself in trouble, we've spent about $4 million just on emergency funds. So the numbers start to add up quickly. So the thought is you could potentially spend the $4 million up front, similar to what Chris Creed at FOTH says is, there's no such thing as too much sand to get you out of this bind and into a proactive beach management. Other risks quickly to talk through, there's an assumption here that the shoal is going to attach and that we don't have a perfect crystal ball on that, so that's a risk to think through. If for some reason we get a high erosion case at the south end, we've been at 136,000 erosion per year the last 3 years. So in that case, the renourishment volumes, if you did the permit max, would last 5.5 years, not the 8 years that we would hope. We're going to start with a 300-foot berm that would move to 200 feet within that 2-year period. So again, we would say, let's start a groin analysis ASAP once the FOTH work comes out of that. Another risk is fine sand. This is something that we learned from Chris Creed at FOTH. Others will tell you the same thing. When you do Army Corps beneficial use sand renourishments, that sand is not what you would get if you're going to go out in the middle of the ocean. Stephen's going to bring in medium quality sand. This is finer sand, and it tends to erode more quickly. So we're assuming that it's going to, the last is the normal rate of medium core sand. I don't know if that's a good assumption. We would recommend that we do sand quality testing to inform us of the exact sand that we have, to inform what the erosion rate is. So just know that it may erode quicker than normal. And the last is breach inlet. We've had several conversations with experts, and there's concern that if you put a lot of sand at the far end towards breach inlet, that it might wash away quickly. So I think what Stephen's bid document is showing is that it's spreading out the volume a bit more than just putting it all there and then losing it at the end. And again, we would recommend doing the groin analysis ASAP. There's no questions?
It's a lot of information. It's very good.
Thank you all
Yeah.
for coming here tonight. Thanks for the work. Douglas, anything? Talking. Next item is approval of previous meetings minutes. City Council meeting on March 24th, Town Hall meeting on March 26th, special City Council meeting, budget workshop on April 1st, and citizens' comments are attached. Is there a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Any edits, changes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. There is a lot on this agenda tonight. There is a lot going on in this little bitty island, so we'll try to move as fast as we can and discuss as much as we need to on any particular item. But first item under procurement, discussion and consideration of brick installations for 2 crosswalks along Palm Boulevard from Asphalt Concepts. This will also actually include the 3-way stop, repainting all those stop lines and turn arrows and such there. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. One of us is.
And I know we've been talking about this in committee for a little while, and this has been on our docket for a bit. Douglas, anything to add? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item, discussion and consideration of ATM change order for additional services related to the Marina dredging project, $10,000, and bathymetric survey for $5,000. Douglas, what do you want to add here? Just
Yep, I would just say that the first part, both of these came through ATM. I would classify the first change order amount as pretty well money spent. This is an effort that they gave us in comparing multiple different dredge deposit sites. It ultimately led to the decision to move at it alone, and that's the $10,000 change order that's included in your packet. We do have them under contract to take the project all the way through to completion, so permitting, which we have in hand, coordination with the Army Corps, which is work to be done, construction, bidding, and then construction administration. And they feel like they're now behind without this amount because of work already done. The second $5,000 is really optional work. This would be to survey. There's been about 4 or 5 years since they originally surveyed that area. They suspect that it is probably silted in since that time. So this would be a resurvey to get an up-to-date information on exactly what deposits are where. It could have an effect on the project, and I think they feel like the project could be improved if we had better surveying information.
Are we doing these together?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions, comments?
One comment,
Yep.
Mayor. Those photos you sent over that they forwarded to you, they're pretty concerning looking around that bulkhead.
On the bulkhead?
Yeah.
Same firm, that is a different, that's a different part of, not included in these two. We will be leaving that bulkhead recoating in the current budget because of those photos, but
Yeah.
we had the same concern.
Kay, did you have a comment?
No.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item, discussion and consideration of CSE change order for additional services related to surveying and testing sediment in Hamlin Creek prior to renourishment project, $16,450. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Douglas?
Yes, so this is, really comes as a result of, we have had an issue of, well, a couple of things, but we have had silting in Hamlin Creek that's been brought to the city's attention. I think the city has indicated a willingness, or in working through with Stephen, talking about if that sand were beach compatible that was silting in on Hamlin Creek, it would be a very cheap source of sand to go after when we know the Army Corps is dredging the intercoastal. So in the example that we just had where Cottrell dredging was in the intercoastal for 2 or 3 weeks right there, if we knew that was good sand and we had a permit in place, we could have dredged that sand and used it to offset by putting it onto the front beach area. So it would make sense to know, first of all, if that was good sand, if it would be a potential source of future renourishment projects. It's the first rationale to do this work. The second one is it would be good to know the limits of that sediment now and to know the quality of that sediment now. Just prior to doing the beach renourishment, we have heard from those owners. It seems like each time a project is done, the case is made that they believe the sand is making its way right around the corner and silting in that creek. This would allow us to have baseline information before and after to compare so that we would know if our project was having an effect on the silt in that inlet. So this is kind of a one-time thing to gather this information. It's time sensitive because we would need to do it prior to the renourishment project.
Scott?
Yeah. Go ahead, Katie.
Oh, I was just going to say that might also be helpful if we do go down the road of putting a groin at the end of the island, to have that evidence to show that the sand is actually just coming around the corner and ending up in the creek, so.
Scott?
I was just going to ask Stephen, I think when I read through it, the deliverables for the end of the study, we're going to get like a data file. Can we get like a couple of page written report on what that data might mean or tell us, or something additional to the deliverable instead of just the raw data? Is that possible?
Yeah. For the sediment, that makes sense because we can kind of give you a summary of what's there, and we'll certainly provide some maps showing where those samples were taken from. As far as the survey, we would provide a contour map to show you what the conditions were, but there's really not a lot to report because there would be no comparative data to tell you what's changed. It would be the initial survey. As far as kind of a long-term monitoring, I'm assuming that this would just be for an initial baseline condition. After the project, I would recommend, periodic surveys of that area where you would have a comparative analysis that would be more, you'd have something to actually speak to on what's changed. But we would indicate, what the data types were, whether they were beach compatible or not on that surface. And I will clarify that the way we budgeted this proposal was to obtain relatively short borings where it's more than just a surface grab, but you would get a couple of feet worth of data. But it wouldn't be kind of a final design level collection where you would have cores that may go, 4, 5, 6 feet down. That's a much more extensive effort to try to get those. So for the sake of cost savings and kind of a preliminary study, that's what we were looking at.
You're doing what, every 100-foot intervals, something like that?
We were looking at about 15 or so sediment samples kind of within that area. Again, it'd be kind of a general look at it. And then if this is something the city wants to pursue in the future based off of that preliminary, then we would recommend looking at a more substantial sampling effort.
So is this more for sand compatibility as opposed to what the topography is underneath? That was a big area that you were looking at surveying, and at 15 spots, that would...
The sediment samples will be focused more on the areas that are shoals or likely to be shoaled areas in the futures. The bottom of the channels wouldn't be something where we are looking at, collecting the sediment samples for dredging purposes, because those aren't the navigation impacts or the areas that are likely to accumulate any sand that may work its way into that system. So it would focus on the areas most likely to need dredging in the future.
Can you trace the sand through the sediment sample back to the Army Corps sand in any way?
I'm not sure.
If that in fact is what happened, could you trace that back?
You would need to look at, again, we don't have comparative data before they started pumping to see, if elevation changed, and what you would want to look to see is, if you had before and after, you would see where those elevation changes are, core in that area, and see if you see a corresponding kind of layer of different material that would look more like the material that came out of that site. Any kind of thing like that is difficult for these cause and effect unless you have repeated surveys and data collections where you can track the movement of that material.
So the answer is no, you really can't.
It's probably no.
Yeah.
For this initial sampling, yeah.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Stephen, thank you. Next item in our ongoing Marina saga, discussion and consideration proposal from Klein Engineering for $69,500 to develop plans, acquire permits, and manage construction of the Marina parking lot development. And this will obviously be contingent upon another item in the agenda in a moment. Is there a motion? Let me just get a motion. Motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Douglas, sorry.
Yeah, to your point, Mayor, this project really is tied to another agenda item, under 6A, the consideration of the Marina lease amendment. And what the effort here would be is to undertake the design of the parking lot to get the design to a point that we could actually facilitate constructing the parking lot and ultimately have the shared parking eliminated and adjust the leases so that the Marina restaurant would have exclusive parking only, the city would have exclusive parking as well, and we would create a new green space out of that plan. So these are a little bit attached at the hip where this route has the city doing the planning, designing, construction, also has the city continuing to receive overage rent payments from the tenant there. There has been a discussion about the possibility of having the Marina restaurant tenants handle this project, and in doing so, they would not be paying some overage back to the city to offset that expense. So I would just say you wouldn't want to, if you were to want to go at the project with the city handling it, you would be voting in the positive for both this item and the lease amendment item. They're aligned.
Does this include the design of the green space as well?
It has a small amount of landscape design that would include the green space. There is not, and I will just, we've kind of talked about the fact that the green space design has been a very simple, just sod, some palm trees, picnic benches, so it would handle a simple design like that. There's not a very large landscape design component of this.
Could the green space be completed prior to the parking lot being redone?
I don't think from a practical standpoint it really could be. I don't think that we could really have the leases fully basically exchanged to allow us to do the green space first. I think they really have to happen all in tandem. Bev?
I'm not seeing the green space in the proposal, though. Did I miss it, or?
It's just, they see it all as one large property. So Klein is the one, and I guess I should have started with, Matt Klein is the designer who worked with the Marina tenant, Schuler, did that side of the parking lot. Also has been doing all the various iterations and working between the city and the Marina restaurant operators. So they have a history with the design. They've done all of the iterations of the design. They are very familiar with the green space, and the green space is just that green space shown on the exhibit.
There was a line item in there for, not green, it didn't say green space, but it said for plantings and.
Yeah,
sure,
landscape
kind of stuff,
design.
landscape
Yeah,
design.
that would be the green space. And the buffer, and there's a little bit of that throughout the entire
And the
project.
timing of this is next fall, this coming fall, or what? Not this, but to do
This.
the project.
Yes,
the-
as soon as, yeah, this seat.
I think it was the start of January, right?
Yeah, I thought it's,
January.
that's what I thought too, January, February.
Yeah, so that would be the hope, and that's why it's here. This would hopefully give time to get the project fully designed. There could be some land disturbance permits necessary, get it through that process to have, to be in a position that we could actually handle the construction in January or February. But
Of 27.
27, yeah. Thank you, Mayor.
We've been here a
Vote of
while.
confidence.
I think that the next item on the agenda, which is tied to this, I believe that the restaurant has indicated that they're in favor of this, on the, they have, I think they received it recently, and they have not had a chance to look at it in depth, but I think that they are in favor of it, the idea of it at least, so, as we've discussed in the past. So I think we're good to go on that moving forward, and the restaurant has indicated that they would prefer that the city take control of the project. So, and that's how we have it in the budget already, so I guess we'll just.
Rusty?
Yeah, and once we get a proposal back to them, they have 10 days, I think the lease reads, to either approve, or modify, or be silent, and it would be automatically approved after 10 days. So there'll be another opportunity for them to look at it after we put the proposal in their hands as to how it should be laid out.
Yeah, I would just say, and to Katie's point, there has been a lot of focus, obviously, for years on the concept of the layout. Marina tenants, restaurant tenants are very aware of this arrangement, this configuration, been instrumental in it. When we move to the next item on your agenda, when we talk about their lease adjustments, they have not been involved in that process really at all. So if council is of a mind to kind of progress this forward as it's being presented tonight, our next step would be to provide them with these lease agreements, and to the point that's been made, they have a time constraint to respond to that. There is also one small caveat in terms of when they're, and don't want to get to the next agenda item before you've had action on the first one, but dealing with how their payments are made at the end of the year, so.
Let's take action on this one. All those in favor say aye. Oh, David, sorry.
Should we be making this tentative on the lease agreement changes? Because I'm assuming they wouldn't want to award this if they're not going to change the lease agreement, so it was just kind of a.
Yeah, they will have to agree, I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to have to agree to both items for them to progress. If they don't agree, it would be kind of back at the stalemate we've been in.
I guess, do we need to make this vote,
Contingent.
do we need to amend it to make this contingent on?
On a positive vote on item 6A, is that the question?
And that the marina accepts
Before
it.
they pay the engineering firm, should we
Yes.
make it contingent on getting the leases?
Yeah, we will just do that. We will ensure that we're in sync before we were to.
So should we modify the
I will
motion?
make the motion contingent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That would be Councilmember Cohen
yep. Is there a second?
and Councilmember Bogosian. If they're the ones that made the original motion, would you like to amend that to make it contingent upon
Yes,
approval of the lease amendments? Is that how it's worded?
yes.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item, discussion and consideration proposal from McGrath Industries for reconstructing 2 new tennis courts for $208,998 And Carrie wants everyone to be sure they know that the budgeted amount is $220,000, not $190,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Carrie, so noted. Old business, discussion and consideration of marina lease amendment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Douglas, any, or Mac?
No, I think we've covered it.
And Douglas, to your point, Maria, tenants have not seen this yet, so this will go through them, and then Katie, back to y'all's committee and back to council, hopefully May.
Yeah, I would say if they're good with it, we're okay to execute it as it is. If you will vote in the affirmative tonight, if they have a modification, it would need to go back.
Yeah.
through you.
And they have-
This has been through the
They
committee
have
already.
10 days, is that what? I'm
Yes.
hearing?
And Mac, your note this afternoon, all attorneys seem to have agreed to the latest version, so we're good to present it to them.
That's a different agreement.
Oh, that's right. There's too many moving parts here.
Yeah, that's F, 6F.
Yep, sorry, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Kind of administrative cleanup item, discussion and consideration of surfing lesson application, Carolina salt surf lessons. Is there a motion?
Did we already,
I think they're going to be
Is
a
this a new one?
fifth or sixth.
That is,
No.
so this one was not in the original, it has been to your committee, but this is an add-on.
This is the fifth,
from the-
yeah.
Yeah, this is, yeah, I think that's right,
Yeah.
the fifth.
I knew I'd seen something.
Yeah, you saw it at committee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item C, discussion and consideration of wage and compensation adjustments. Just quick comment, I would agree with some of our resident comments tonight. I think we've done a really poor job of explanation and how we got from point A to point B. And my goal tonight, as I told folks that came to Coffee with the Mayor on Friday, is Douglas, I'm going to ask you to walk through kind of where we've been from and to, and hopefully answer a lot of the questions that were presented or asked during citizens' comments tonight. And if not, and then council can debate and take action.
Joshua, you have the ability, to put up slides. Yeah, so I would like to just kind of go through a little bit of prior history, go through the recommendation from the Ways and Means Committee, talk about what's happening in accordance with those recommendations, talk about what's in the budget going forward, and then answer any questions that you will have. So,
And Douglas, I'm sorry, this wasn't included in the packet, but will be posted on the website.
it is on,
And it's
Already
it's
is.
on
Okay.
the
Attached to
website
the
now.
minutes, well.
Yeah. So we have heard the questions about how have we gotten to where we are today? Why are we kind of lagging behind? And this first slide talks about prior efforts, and I'll just kind of go through those at a high level. Fiscal year '22, there was 10% increases for public safety employees, 7.5% increases for non-public safety employees, plus a 2.5 merit and step increase. Next year, there was a one-time $5,000 payment made to all employees, plus 5% COLA and merit/step. 2024, city conducted another wage and comp study. This resulted in an increase for public safety employees at 14%, and a 3 to 7% increase for non-public safety employees, plus an additional 2.5% merit and step. Fiscal year '25, we had a 3% merit and step. Fiscal year '26, we had a 5.5% COLA and merit and step. And I would just note, and this point has been made, each time there was a COLA adjustment, that would have the effect of increasing the ranges in the pay plans. But some years, there was not a COLA increase. Now, if we just look at specifically what the Ways and Means recommendations are that you're considering tonight, first thing is adjusting starting pay. This is fire, and it's the FO1 grade is going up. The first grade in the fire pay plan goes up from 50,225, up 7.5% to 54,000. Police is going up 7.8% from 55,862 to 60,000. General pay plan goes up from 41,000, up 1.5% to 41,600. The administrative plan goes up 2.5% from 80,653 to 82,700. The total cost of these adjustments to the city is $491,000, and this is divided between police and fire step employees at $315,000, and general and administrative employees at $176,000. These adjustments, and as I've mentioned, this is talking about the starting grade of each of these. But to put these in perspective, the fire adjustment on average results in a 9.1% increase for fire employees. The police adjustment results in an average of a 7.9% increase for the police employees. The general and administrative adjustments result in an average of 5.5%. I also would add that the range of these adjustments for each individual employees ranges from a 0% increase to, at the upper end, an 18.6% increase.
Question.
So that's yeah, go ahead.
That's for all personnel in each of those departments.
So it's not each, it is not, it depends on where they were, but yes, that is when you average
The
them.
average of all the personnel in the fire department is the percentage you just gave.
That's correct, 9.1%.
And going down the list, same thing of everybody in that department.
That's correct. So, and I probably should have started with this, when we say fire, that is the fire step employees. There are fire personnel that are administrative.
Right.
Administrative, so those non-step employees would be captured in the administrative bucket.
And same in police.
Same in police, yes. Their step employees are in the police bracket, but the administrative are in that lower administrative
To just
bracket.
make sure I'm clear, that's for police and fires, overall is slightly less than 8% for each.
That's correct. Fire is slightly over 9%. Police, average, slightly below 8%.
Average, the entire
And
department.
then, that's correct. When you get to the general and admin, that is a 5.5% average to those employees. So that is, and we'll go into detail, but that is the pay plan adjustment. In addition to the pay plan adjustment, there is an incentive program that would be on top of the slide that we just looked at. These would be paying the step employees for additional specialized training that they might get. This is coming, these lists that are in your packet have a list of incentives and an associated adjustment. Those are coming from the two public safety chiefs. We expect that program would improve performance, also would help with retention and recruitment. It also provides some parity with our market peers. A lot of our competitors are already doing this, so we're bringing ourselves up to parity with those peers.
And Douglas, real quick, just to answer one of the questions tonight, that is, it's not a one-time, it's a addition to their base, to
That
their
is-
pay that's ongoing.
That is correct.
But they have to recertify every year.
That is correct.
Yeah.
They have to keep the certification that,
Use it or lose it, you got to earn it.
That is
basically every
correct.
year.
Incentive-based, yeah.
the cost of that part of this pay adjustment is $150,000, and that is split evenly between the fire and police departments. Another issue that was brought up and discussed by the Administration Committee and then the Ways and Means Committee is that we have had a history of, next slide, Joshua. We have had a history of not providing pay for relevant prior years' experience, and the recommendation was to change that to pay for relevant prior experience. This amount, the amount of this is worked into the 2 slides ago, the adjusting starting pay, so that $315,000 for police and fire includes these adjustments. The way this would work going forward is if we were to hire an employee from another city, we would give them basically half of the steps that they would have earned had they had that same experience with the city. So if you were here for 6 years, that would equate to 3 additional, I'm sorry, if you worked elsewhere, relevant position to the position you take with us, you would get 3 additional steps for that experience. These adjustments would be capped at the midpoint within the specific employee's pay grade.
And Douglas, real quick, if I remember right, this is 15-ish people
I think that's
that
about
are
right.
here. And this, and you kind of hit on as each slide, where does this stand with regard to area competition, other municipalities?
Chiefs, are other departments
Janice.
also doing this, where they give step credit?
A few do.
Chief, won't you, okay. So the answer is a few do.
Yeah.
And most do not.
Most do not.
Most do
Okay.
not.
Can I make a comment? Yeah. The Evergreen study did not recommend incentives. That came from our chiefs.
That is correct.
So that's their original thought, and I applaud them on that. I think that's a great thing that they recognize and want to step forward on. But going back, we don't really know what the rest of the market's doing. We just heard the chief say that, a few of them do, but we don't know if they're recognizing all years of experience or just half years of experience, and that may be something we really want to explore going forward
Yes.
as we enrich this program, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think we have been talking about this internally a lot, that it would be, we wouldn't want to bring somebody in brand new and have them kind of leapfrog the existing employees. So we're trying to keep from compressing our existing employees and also trying to keep parity with new employees coming in with those that are getting experience here within our own departments.
David, question?
I want to say, yeah, just in my view, digging into this, and again, not all departments use a 25-step pay system, so it's how it's implemented in other departments changes. I think historically, from what I could tell, is most fire departments kind of just did that. When you started in this department, if you went to a new department, you started all over. And that is changing with times where we're recognizing that people move from one department to another. They don't stay in the same department for 25 years or 27 years now. And I think that is probably, like Rusty was saying, that's something I think we got to dig deeper into. This gets us closer, but it's not a fix for how do we deal with that issue going forward? So that, yeah, when people come in that have moved and are full functioning years of experience, that they're not just left at the bottom. Again, I don't see, that's something that, moving forward, I think we got to address it. We try to catch up at least mistakes of the past in this proposed.
Yeah, I
budget.
mean, I think this is a good move for sure.
Does this give any leeway for the chiefs to decide when a new hire comes in?
It does, yes.
Okay.
It does.
So,
Next slide, Josh.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
So
Sorry.
the next 2 slides will talk about the cost to do these programs. And here laid out on the screen, the $491,000 adjustment, that is the base pay. That includes, as we mentioned, that includes those adjustments for prior year's experience. $150,000 additional for incentive pay. $42,000 for additional overtime that would be associated with these increases, and $242,000 of additional fringe expense that obviously the employee doesn't see that, but that is a cost to the city. So a total cost for this one adjustment, and the next slide talks about there's kind of a handful of adjustments, is $925,000 for this one adjustment.
Yeah, Josh, can you go back one, sorry. So, well, incentive pay will happen over time and as well as overtime, but all of these base compensation changes are, this one is effective 7/1.
That's correct.
Right, with our start of our
Yep.
fiscal year.
That's correct. Yeah, next slide
But
gets.
then
go
that
ahead.
base pay next year, it's still in the system. So if they're moving up a step, they're higher to start with, right? So it's not like after this one time, we go back to where we were.
That's,
It's-
so,
It's moving forward.
yeah, let's go to the next slide, Josh, if you don't mind. So yes, Katie, to your point, there is, to kind of talk through the adjustments over time, city staff just received a 5.5% increase January 1 of this year, so 5 months ago. Total cost of that adjustment was $281,000, and that is for those 6 months between January and July 1.
And Douglas, that 5.5 was, what's the split between COLA and merit?
I think it's 2.5 and 3.
Yep.
2.5, 2.5 COLA,
Yes,
3%
2.5,
merit.
yes. Is that correct? So then you have this adjustment, which is, and actually that cost for this adjustment has an inflated fringe in it. The actual amount is not $997, it's $925. So this adjustment would be an additional $925. And then if in the current budget that council is considering, there is an additional 5.8% COLA merit step that would happen January 1, 2027. So
And
those are all, sorry, Mayor.
No, I was going to say, that's a 3% merit and 2.8 COLA, I think, if I remember right.
That's correct.
Rusty?
But the wage adjustment that goes into effect on 7/1 at 925 total includes fringe.
Correct.
I mean, it's not money that's going into their pocket next week.
Yes, that is the city's cost, that's correct.
Yeah,
That's the
city's
city's
cost.
expense,
It's
but
not-
not all of that.
It's not
That is-
what the first responders or anyone else is actually going to, it's not sweetening the pot on a week-to-week basis, okay?
Yeah, percentage of
So
that
to
is.
me, it's apples and oranges when you look at that. I mean, I know all of us want a great pension plan, we want great fringe benefits, that's great. And we do have, state plans are pretty rich from a pension standpoint, I think, and consistent throughout all municipalities. But what I'm really concerned about, and we'll have more discussion later, is base pay and what we're doing to be robust enough right now. So I just want to throw that out there.
Rusty, that number's 925 minus 242, 683.
Yep.
That's
So
correct.
that's going to the employees, not the 925.
Yeah,
That is
683.
correct.
Just want to make sure that it didn't get lost in the conversation.
Yeah, so the final bullet there is totaling up these three adjustments over the course of the year it's an expense of $2.2 million. I would also just add back that the 5.8% in our budget would adjust the fire department pay to 55.5 starting pay. It adjusts up the police pay to 61,680 at the starting ranks. It adjusts up the general pay plan to 42,764 and adjusts up the administrative pay scale to 85,051.
And that's because of that 2.8% COLA.
That's
For
correct.
1/1/27.
That's correct. So that in a nutshell is the, that really is capturing the recommendations from the admin committee, the Ways and Means Committee, and the discussions about the upcoming budget and kind of going back to our existing budget to give a snapshot of where we are with compensation at this point.
That was
Last
the-
bullet there.
That was the majority of the admin committee. It was not unanimous.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry.
Last bullet there, going forward, and this was included in the Ways and Means recommendation, was that beginning in fiscal year 2028, we would provide, the city would plan to budget a COLA and adjust the pay scales based on the Bureau of Labor statistics for the CPIU South. And this would be capped at no more than 4%, but no less than 1%. That would be an effort to maintain competitiveness going forward. And if I could just add that if we looked at that first slide as to kind of what our prior efforts were, it probably is that it was those years that we did not adjust. We either did a COLA or a merit. We didn't do both. But generally, the city has had an eye on this and has been trying their best to keep pace. But if you look at fiscal year, if we could rewind the clock, it probably would be fiscal years 2025, where we just did 3% merit and a step. So I think if the city were to be more proactive in our budgeting, and we've talked about doing peer comparisons at our time of budgeting instead of just kind of plugging in a 2.5 or 3.5% COLA and merit, probably would do a better job of keeping pace with our peers.
Thank you, Douglas.
Any questions about any of that?
Questions or discussion before we get to a motion?
You ready?
Go ahead, Rusty.
Yeah. I honestly think this is a good start. There are things in this plan that I really like. I like the incentives. I like the, tying in the COLA, let's see, the
Prior service.
prior service, I like that. I like providing COLA and adjusting pay grades and scales based on the Bureau of Labor statistics. I'm not sure about the min-max on that, 4% and 1%, but I do like that idea. I think all those are great. I want to commend the committee on the work that they did to bring those things forward. And again, I want to thank the chiefs for really advancing the incentive program, something we haven't had before, and I think that does have the potential to help us be more competitive. However, it is capped, so there's only a certain number of people that can get those certifications in certain positions in police and fire, so there may be people that get left out of that mix until something comes open, so that's limited in and of itself. Something that Douglas said, I had on my notes, and I try not to drag it out, but it clearly shows with the history for those of us that have been on council for a number of years, including myself, with the wage and comp studies that we had in 2022 and 2024, we really felt good about the direction we were going. I remember that we did a market analysis, and I know there's been a lot of criticism about Evergreen or whatever, but we did find ourselves somewhere in that higher end of the percentile group for a while. And it's obvious that we just dropped the ball on 25 and a little bit in 26 too, but that's where we lost ground. That's what's made us, in my mind, not competitive anymore. And honestly, I don't think what we're offering here in terms of base pay is going to make anybody happy. I'm certainly not going to be happy. I know what I heard from first responders and other employees I've talked to, from what I heard at the town hall, from what I hear in the general feeling in the community, is that we haven't been transparent enough and that we aren't being robust enough in what we're looking at in terms of compensation, and in particular, the first responders. So I'm all in favor of a pay increase. They're going to get pay increases, but the way this stands right now, I'm not going to be supportive of the plan only because it's not robust enough. It's not that I don't want our people to have raises. I know it's going to go through at some point, but I think this council owes it to our community, to our employees, and to ourselves to really revisit this. We talk about $1 million in sand like it's nothing. But then we talk about wages, like if you go over a certain amount, if you throw another $1 million out there for wages, we wring our hands. So that's where I stand. So the way it is right now, I will be supporting this as written. Thank you.
Douglas, can I ask a question? Maybe it's for the admin committee. The 100, and this is really focused on the incentive piece of it. I'm guessing we're walking a little bit before we run. We both chiefs put in numbers based on what they thought people would get, obtain. I know I saw the count by employees and which certification program to get to this $150,000 number. And trying to get Rusty to one of your questions. I mean, this 150 is our first year shot at this incentive plan. If we see, there's crazy amount of demand for it, we'll revisit this every year, I'm assuming. This is.
No, this is definitely the first shot, and I will say, I think it was Chief Cornett had submitted the first incentive program, and that was his number, and that was his area of concern as far as where can he recruit and retain the right number of balanced incentive-based skill sets within his department, and that's how he had priced that out. So that's where it came from initially, and I think we should, like all of it, one of the recommendations in the administrative committee was, instead of us waiting a year to be looking at something, we should be going out and spot checking positions. We should be benchmarking against the other municipalities on an ongoing basis. This isn't something that we should be doing every 6 months or a year. We should, our HR function should be doing that benchmarking with the chiefs and with the general administrative staff on an ongoing basis. That's pretty typical. Sorry. No, that's okay.
Especially around some of the incentive and the past credit. I mean, some of the things that we make and tweak. I know we pay for.
Well, the past credit was identified as, when talking with the chiefs, it seemed like they were not necessarily given the leeway to be able to hire into a higher step or a higher experience level, and that was identified as, at least with some, to be an extreme barrier to entry on being able to recruit people. So I think we've eliminated that barrier.
Yeah, and I think, as you talk about looking at other municipalities and other areas, I know we pay for 100% of the employee medical costs, 50% of the family or spouse or partner or whatever. Yeah, that's one I think it feels pretty good, coming out of the corporate world, but I don't know how other municipalities, they're just things that I think we need to keep ringing the bell on from a look standpoint, total comp,
Education reimbursement, all of those components of a total compensation package should be looked at all the time.
And Rusty, I'd love to put another $1 million, $2 million, pick a number into this thing, but when I look at $2 million. But when I look at, well, it is $2 million. If you look at, for 12 months, Josh, we'll go to the last slide if you don't mind. I mean, last slide, it is $2 million. When you look at the last 12 months, that last bullet, it is $2.2 million. And I hear you, and I don't disagree with you around what gets in somebody's pocket and on somebody's table. But from the city, it is $2.2 million in cost. It's a very rich pension plan, and that's great. But to your point, that's an equal playing field across all municipalities that are in the state of South Carolina. It's a great number, 22%, I think, for our first responders, which is awesome. There's just a lot of balance that has to happen when we're spending 2.2 in 12 months. I mean, that's essentially 3 raises for folks over the course of a January to a January. I dare say there's another municipality that's done that. I'm like, I'd love to do more, but I know we're trying to balance a whole lot of pieces here.
Those raises and those percentages are coming off of a lower base than other municipalities are paying too, so the percentages can be somewhat inflated just by our lower base pay also. So percentages can be so misleading. I know we can sit here and we can justify anything, and I am going to shut up, I promise you this, because I know that we're going to be taking a vote on this, but I honestly, firmly believe that we're kidding ourselves if we think anybody's going to be truly happy with what we're going to decide on with this effort here. I love the incentive plan. I love the COLA I mean, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I love, rewarding people with prior experience. All that is great, and we can build on that. What I am talking about is what gets in their pocket every week or every month. And I think what I see here, even though we can pat ourselves on the back for giving frequent increases, I think other municipalities are doing the same. I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that other 18 or 20 municipalities that we're competing against aren't sitting there at their council meeting and in their workshops and committees and sharpening the pencil and doing the same thing. We won't gain any ground on this. We may lose ground, in my opinion. That's it.
David?
Yeah, I guess so.
If you don't, I thought you had your hand up.
Well, I was kind of thinking about it, but I was, looking at this, and this, again, this is, I've seen this is a budget, and we're making a pretty significant increase in our budget. Do I think that's going to fix some of the problems that we have as far as the retention issues that we've dealt with? I don't think that is. But I think we've got to look, it gives us the budget to start looking at how are we going to do these incentives. And as we move forward, that may not be the right number. I don't think we can just say, pat ourselves on the back, vote this in and say, we're done, because this is just, to me, is just a starting point. What the Evergreen study has kind of showed me was we don't have a good concept of how our pay relates to other communities because we just didn't get the data to show it. And I'm reluctant to say what percentile we fit in because when you take a sample of 10 samples and go, where do you fit in the percentile, and you move a couple of $1,000s to jump from number being in place 6 to place 8th, it's meaningless with that number, that few samples, and we just don't have the data. I'm comfortable looking at searching on like other job sites or job postings from other municipalities, the data that we did get, their pay scales, that we can be competitive, hopefully with this budget. Maybe we'll find out it needs to be higher, but at least this is a starting point, and I don't think we can just stop here.
Other comments, questions?
Need a motion.
All right.
Scott, your chair of the admin, you want to make it?
Sure. I move to adopt and implement the approved motion recommendations made at the April 14th Ways and Means meeting with the approved budgeted amounts to be implemented in the new fiscal year starting 7/1/26. These include the base pay market adjustment, the incentive programs for police and fire departments, annual pay scale adjustments based on CPIU South with a minimum of 1%, maximum of 4%, and recognition of up to one-half of relevant first responder work experience for new hires and existing employees up to a maximum of midpoint within grade.
Second.
Katie, second, thank you. Jimmy?
I seem to remember just about every campaign, city council campaign and mayoral campaign in the 40 years that I live here and listen to people meet the candidates and look at all of their campaign literature, and they're saying the number one job, city council, is safety. Protect the safety of the island, of the neighborhoods. I think we've forgotten about it here because the biggest topic on the island is retention of public safety employees, retention of all employees. Well, this is a good step. It's a first step, and that's all it is. I don't think it's going to stop any employees that's thinking about leaving from leaving. All of our employees and their costs, related costs, are over 70% of the budget. And we're talking about $2 million to protect over 70% of the budget. I support increases in compensation for all employees, but especially our first responders. Everybody is watching us closely to see what we're going to do here. I can't support this. I think it is way short of what we need to be doing. Way short. And again, I support raises for all employees, especially public safety employees. Don't get me wrong and don't misquote me on that. I support the raises. It just does not do enough.
Other comments? Questions? Yeah, and David, I would echo your comment. I think this is a good first step, but I think we hold each other's feet to the fire, our administrative committee to the fire, our staff to the fire, feet to the fire, and keep this top and center for us. I mean, it's a critical piece, and I think we're making as good a first step as we can, and we'll monitor the heck out of this over the next few months and see where we are.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Sure can. Nicole? Thank you, Rustin.
Any particular order?
Nicole, yeah.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Nay.
Councilmember Pierce?
Yay.
Councilmember Ward?
Nay.
Councilmember Bogosian?
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman?
Nay.
Councilmember Myers?
Aye.
Councilmember Cohen?
Aye.
Mayor Pounds?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-3.
Thank you. Next item, kind of the hard part, is revenue sources to pay for this and other things. Douglas, I know we've got in our packet, and Deborah, thank you for preparing some of this. We've got current revenue sources. We've got multiple ideas that has come out of workshop/Ways and Means. We do not have to get into a deep dive on this tonight because it'll be part of the Ways and Means Committee on May, whenever.
Well,
So, and I think I missed the last Ways and Means, but I think the conversation was, let's step away from the revenue side for a minute. Let's think about what's in front of us. I know we have a couple of new ideas, the local option sales tax put on the table. I don't know if we want to have a conversation tonight, really go deep dive at Ways and Means in May. Deborah, I don't know if you want to add anything to what's on the screen, a couple of slides, or once you do that, and then we can see where we want to go. We can go here or there, wherever.
Good evening. Yes, I think one thing that we do need to focus on, we did go back and update all the percentages for expenses to give it, the budget, a better picture of how CPI will be affecting the expenses. So now we can see how revenue plays a part in that. I think one thing council needs to consider is this current budget currently includes millage increases to help offset the payroll, millage in debt service, millage increase to offset a fire truck, as well as increases in our business license permits and parking and short-term rental. So with all that being said, there are still transfers being transferred from other funds to the general fund to help offset some of those payroll costs. But we need money from the general fund to help pay for some of our large projects, the drainage projects and things of that nature. So just remember, as you're looking through the budget and as you decide on what you want to leave in and what you want to pull out, just consider all those factors that you'll be approving FY '27, but there are costs in our future years that we need to consider. And especially with the topics that are going on now with payroll has to be paid for. So just remember, when you look at the budget, look at the big picture of everything.
And Deborah, what's still not in here, I know it's, I think, in the draft 4 in our budget that we have in front of us, the local option sales tax, if we didn't do the 100% credit, that's 300-ish thousand, give or take.
377,
Okay.
round about 377,000, that's not in this,
Okay.
that's
Do you
not.
have, do you have the total number of new revenue that is in here, that, all the stuff that you just mentioned, the millage increase, the recapture of millage increase, the millage increase for the debt recapture?
That's about let's see, about $1.8 million.
Of total new, revenue?
Yes, it's 300 for the fire truck, it's, excuse me, 712 for the added adjustments in the fees, and about 791 for the millage increase.
Okay.
So about $1.8 million of additional revenue to offset some of the
Currently built in.
currently built in.
Not the local option sales
Correct.
tax is not in it.
Right, that's not included.
So just to get the timing, I mean, what we talked about in the Ways and Means is to have a first reading of the budget in our May meeting.
Yeah.
So to do that, it seems like we're going to have to make a decision on this by mid-May.
I mean, I think at Ways and Means.
At Ways,
will be
yeah, yeah.
Decision point.
So whatever it takes to get people comfortable with what that decision is, we have to do it in order to come to that meeting and make take a vote and make a decision on how much revenue and what sources they come from.
Well, I think we've now made the decisions on expenses, right? We don't have any other,
I don't think there's anything outstanding.
No, the only
Right.
thing that was outstanding
what we're
was
waiting.
the bulkhead, and after the inspection,
Keeping
it's
that,
been
Keeping that
determined
in.
that it needs
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
remain in the budget.
so we should be pretty solid on expenses, and then
Right.
how to pay for it.
I don't think there's any expense
Yes.
items left out to say, need
Yes.
council decision.
Right, because
Yeah.
the wage study has been built in this budget already.
Yeah.
So-
And the incentives.
And
Deborah,
the
could you-
incentives.
For the Ways and Means, could you bring like one slide that sort of shows all of the categories of revenue and the dollars associated with them, so that if we want to say, you know what, we might want to pull back on this category and add back on that category, so that we can at least see the kind of the mix on what our options are? Because I think there is some debate on, do we put what % on this bucket versus, maybe the lost could offset some of the other fees and things somewhere else. But that way, we've got the whole list of what we can consider, and then we can figure out what the mix and who it's going to impact here and there.
That's
Well,
new
new revenue.
revenue
Yeah,
right
this is
now.
for the new revenue,
Yeah.
correct.
Sure.
And I think, John, to your point, and Scott, to that kind of a menu of what we're doing, in our current budget, with all these assumptions, there's still a surplus, if you will, at the end of the year. Yeah, we don't have to grab it all this year. We don't have to ring every bell on every revenue item for this fiscal year. Again, I'm going to miss the next Ways and Means. Don't take it personally. But I think the local option sales tax is certainly something to look at, particularly when you look at other municipalities and what they're doing. There still would be a credit back for our residents, just not as big as a full 100% credit. But, if I was king for a day, I would push out parking and business license and short-term rental license. We just did that a couple of years ago. I'd probably put that in a 28 budget. I'd look at local option sales tax and a small millage, but that's just my opinion for discussion purposes when we get there. But I think, Scott, to your point, if we have a list, we can pick and choose and see where that new revenue's coming from, dial down one, dial up the other, whichever way we want to go, so.
And I think one thing, and maybe we can do a little more research on that lost bucket, but it seems like that sort of, if that's growing because the options tax is growing when our property taxes are remaining relatively flat, we're sort of cannibalizing our property tax revenue stream by offering more credits every year. So we might want to, that might be a really good option to raise some revenue.
Other comments or questions? We'll spend much more time on this at Ways and Means, but.
Yeah, one more, and Deborah, this is for you, I think, sorry. So we had talked a little bit about this at admin, I think, and that was the planning director, which right now Douglas is playing both roles, I believe. Do we have that in this budget?
We do
The
not. The
FTE?
beach resilience person?
Not the resilience, this is the director of planning, is that what?
I don't think there's ever been a directive to add that position.
Was it, I
There was a-
was under the impression there was that position.
Weren't you in that position?
Yeah.
The planning board?
When I became deputy, I became
You carried
two
both,
positions.
yeah.
So really that position went away when I became deputy. So I've had two roles since I became deputy.
In Duet, what's her official title?
Zoning administrator.
Zoning administrator.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that is, maybe that's the thought. It was that position, there was a head count that was added as the zoning administrator. So maybe that's.
No, that's what
the
I'm
thought.
confusing?
Maybe.
I mean,
Okay,
so,
we'll
well,
look at it.
maybe this is another discussion, but should you really be doing two roles? I mean, I'm guessing the city administrator would be plenty, and candidly, I mean, personally, I think if there's a planning director over that organization, I mean, that was an authorized position within the organization, and I don't know when it got eliminated or combined officially by council or what have you, but I don't know how you're doing both jobs, to tell you the truth. I mean, that's kind of, it used to be a full-time job.
Right.
But, I mean, I think we ought to consider budgeting it and give you some relief so that you can do the.
Look at him, I mean, he's tired.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if I were you, I'd grab it, but I mean, that is, I am concerned if you're doing both roles, I mean, those are full-time roles. But,
Shouldn't that be an agenda item on a committee or something?
yeah, no,
Yep.
Tonight?
No, we'll put it on.
we'll put it on.
Are you
But
good
I-
with taking this to Ways and Means for a deeper conversation on the
I only
revenue?
ask if we need to put it in this year's budget as a placeholder or whatever, as we talk about expenses and what are we missing. If That's the only reason I brought it up. We might be missing
This
it.
hotel is full, I think.
Well,
Deborah,
Okay,
thank you
anyway.
very much. All right, shifting gears a little bit, discussion of easement acquisition. I know, Sean, you handed out kind of where we stand today, and this is with regard to the beach renourishment project, and Josh has put on the screen the map that they had developed, and I would just say, Sean, Amy, anybody that's touched this, I mean, you guys have done yeoman's work on this in a very short time frame. Thank you very much. So, Douglas, you want to update?
Yes, and really, these next, kind of like the marina, these next three agenda items are really tied together. We have easement acquisition, we have the Wild Dunes Community Association escrow agreement, and then we have consideration of a beach renourishment contract to Marinex. So I'll kind of go through them at a high level. If we need details, as Mayor's mentioned, Sean has really been the point person on easement acquisition.
And Douglas, I think I'd say it's been helpful to have a military person in that role.
Yeah, between him and then, as of today, I think Wendy, very, very proactive getting these things in, but it's been very helpful. So the north end, the Wild Dunes end, I think we have 100%, and some may still be in transit, but we have at least a commitment from all of those owners, and we're looking good on the north end. On the south end, it is changing pretty dramatically daily. We had our deadline to get these easements back in on the 22nd, so that was really the 22nd, 23rd was really our first chance to take a look at where, we were in constant contact, answering questions, pushing people, contacting people, had a great response, but there were some property owners that we either didn't hear anything from or we didn't hear much from. And then we had a lot of super engaged, helpful owners that immediately got us what we had asked for. So we have a little bit of a variety on the map there. And I think at the end of the day, we have all but maybe 12 in hand or committed, that would be in transit or in hand. Of those 12, we have 4 that have indicated they are not willing to sign an easement. and maybe up to 5, depending on, we have one that is for sale, and it's literally kind of straddling between 2 owners. So we have 4 that have indicated no, and maybe a 5th just to get the sale done. And then we have about 7 that are various stages of mystery, either in an estate, just not responsive, just kind of a mixed bag for those remaining 7 or so. If we had additional time, I think we could fully understand, and we would get a lot of the 7. I know we would be able to determine if they were a hard no, a soft no, or just unreachable. And I think it would give us an opportunity to go back even to the hard, those that have indicated no, and at least have a conversation with them and express the importance of this project. But we met with Stephen about just the idea of doing a project without working on those parcels, and it's just not a practical project. We probably could do a project similar to the Army Corps project, where it's all seaward of the mean high water line, but there's not a practical project that we could do and stay off of those unknown properties. So that has us in a situation where at least one path forward would be to proceed at this point with the north end, give us some time to continue to hunt down owners on the south end, and consider a change order for the work on the south end at some future date when we have more information back from those owners would be a path.
That's certainly, because we've dealt with this previously with the golf course project, where we had them signed up, but we didn't have all the easements in, contractors sitting there waiting. So that makes the most sense for me, because we were stressing, and we could have gotten in some legal trouble waiting on those easements while the contractors were under contract for them to do the work, but they can't do it because we don't have permission yet. And so,
Mac, don't review drive us, man, come on.
I'm sorry, but hey, we learned from that. This is, I think that's a very good suggestion from a legal standpoint.
But looking at the hard nose are all 700 and higher?
No, we have, hard nose, yes,
Yeah.
that is correct, the hard nose, that's right. I think we have one in the 500 block.
I know
do have one in the
I know we don't
500
want
lot.
to do a, oh, we did?
Yeah, right there.
And he might be the hardest of nose. Weirdly.
That's the one that's between owners? Yeah. How many of the other hard nose are for sale, or?
So the 3 in the north, the 3 at the top end in the 900 block, those are all for sale.
They're all the same owner too.
Yep.
Those are the theme houses?
Yep.
That's one word.
The other part of this issue is we obviously have a very, very favorable bid from Marinex. Marinex has indicated a willingness to kind of work with us into the future, but I do think that if we were to not kind of give them assurances as soon as we possibly can, it puts them in a little bit of a oddity where if additional work comes up from a bidding perspective, we have not executed an agreement, it hangs them out a little bit. So from our perspective, it would be best to engage them as soon as practical. I do think that their actual bid guaranteed the price for 60 days, I think. But I do know that they're very anxious. We have said from the very onset of putting this project out to bid that we've identified this meeting on everybody's calendar as the meeting that they would know something. So I do think we feel compelled to let them know something.
Scott?
So, Douglas, we've got the other items on here. We've still got the escrow agreement that hasn't been executed, and we've got, I think the advice I thought I'd heard from our attorneys is that, we wouldn't want to proceed and commit to contracts until we have the money in the bank either, which I don't think is going to be an issue with the escrow. But you know, the way the flurry of inbound has come over even just the last 3, 4 days or 5 days, what about, you know, what if we just, you know, talked about awarding the whole thing contingent upon getting the MOU done, getting the money in the bank, getting a certain level of the easements. And then at some point, I think we as a city have got to do a risk assessment on, you know, what is the risk of the outstandings? We want all the easements in for sure, but we've got to, I'm just wondering what another week might, would we find ourselves in another place potentially in another week? The reason I'm reluctant to award anything without the other documents being completed and the money in the bank, just from a fiduciary standpoint. But the, you know, I'm kind of reluctant to award half a loaf. I'd rather get just, you know, I think I want to give Marinex the whole project up to the 2.5 million cubic yards.
But contingent, Scott, to
Yeah.
your point.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. But I'd like to award the whole thing.
Well, I would just say, I do think that the escrow agreement is, I think the attorneys are satisfied that they're in good order. They've also been exchanging notes up till today. I think everybody is, I think they're agreeable to the condition that it's in now. We've talked to them about, you know, kind of the timing on the wiring of money given, so the sequence of events would be execute the escrow agreement, they would then wire money, then at that point, we would execute the agreement with Marinex.
Yeah, they're
That-
required to wire the funds within 10 days of an affirmative vote of council.
So that kind of has, but we need, you know, we would need some approvals to get those balls rolling, and it would have us lined up to be able to execute an agreement with Marinex probably the end of next week, the beginning of the week after that. And I think that if we were to, back to Mac's point earlier, I don't know that we would want you all to state you're executing it with some somewhat nebulous conditions, leaving the staff to kind of, so what we would prefer, I guess what I would prefer is we wrestle all of the kind of maybes on this map down to the best we can, and we report back to you, you know, this is the status. This is the number of holdouts, these are the number of hard no's. We would then run that through Stephen to see, you know, if from an engineering perspective, is there a viable project to work around them? Probably not, but if they were in very strategic places, potentially. But we could come back to you all with a kind of formalized and more concrete plan of this would be the project, as opposed to a conditional approval. A conditional approval, I just don't think we would execute anything based on that.
But if you, make sure I get that, Douglas, because if you, I mean, we're going to condition the approval on the WDCA escrow agreement and money coming in, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's
And that's
conditional
pretty
to
well-
begin with.
pretty well
And if we
said.
said something like, also a condition is 96% of the easements on the south end.
Yes. If it was a straight calculation, zero black and white, we could do that. We obviously wouldn't enter into the agreement until we got that with
Yeah.
Marinex. So we would be leaving Marinex out a little bit
Yeah,
for a week
I
or
guess,
so.
I think a couple of things. I mean, that's been very consistent because some of us didn't think we needed easements to begin with, but that's, ship has sailed. But, you know, we have said, let's see where we get, you know, the conversation, let's see where we get. And then if we have holdouts, let's see where they are, have a conversation with Stephen. I mean, I think that's been very consistent. You know, Marinex has been such a good partner. Current price, Stephen, thank you very much. And now they've come back and said, we'll guarantee you that price for some number of years, with a couple of caveats around diesel cost and manpower cost, but essentially for that same price point. I mean, we need to lock those guys down. We need to sign a contract with them and have an affirmative vote, at least for the north end. I'm where Scott is. I'd love to do the whole thing with some very definitive conditions to let staff walk away from here tonight, keep working these things hard like you guys have been. And then if that shifts and we need to call a special meeting, we'll do that. But I would love to get Marinex on the hook for the whole thing and commit to them that we're in it with.
Can we do that tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, I think if it was as clear as
Some number.
some number, and the other part of that is it's some number and it's a viable project as determined by Stephen, I think we could do that.
David?
Yeah, maybe probably it's more for Steve. When you say that there's, based on where we are right now, it's not viable. It's nothing viable. Where my mind is going with this is if we awarded now and for some reason could not do parts of that, we'd have a change order. Is it going, would it increase? I don't think it would cause us to go higher. I think if we said, no, we don't want you to pump as much sand on the south end because we have to leave out these spots. Again, this is looking forward, worst case.
Yeah.
And so when you say it's nothing's viable, is it nothing's viable, or could a really scaled back effort still be done?
Yeah, and I'd say I think the north end would be easy as making an award contingent on the Wild Dunes agreement being executed and those funds being, guaranteed or in the bank. But yeah, I'm going to look to you a lot because if I say something that is not, legal, tell me I'm wrong here. So having, awarding that tonight, contingent on that approval or actually being finalized, guarantees Marinex that they know that they're going to be coming here doing the work, and that helps them with their schedule, bidding any potential other projects. We would have till May 17th as the contract or the bid documents currently state, before they would be released from their bid and could be free to move on to a different project. At the south end, if the yellow areas, which are in transit, as I understand it, all come in, and really those two properties at the 400 block and the 500 block, if we were able to get those to be green, then there is certainly a very viable project between, as it stands, the middle of the 100 block all the way up to almost the 8th Avenue. And we could fit the entire volume of sand within that area very comfortably, and we understand that as that project adjusts over time, sand will move north, sand will move south, so it will be a benefit to the entire area that we would like to have, obviously, 100% of the easements, so we could do complete dune restoration and fill, the entire area. As you said, things are changing very quickly, so what the condition was Friday, we had a lot more holes where you can't really tell a dredger to stop work, pick up work every 100 feet. We, in theory, can work around a limited number of parcels where you would determine where the private property line stopped at and tried to work around there. It's somewhat similar to what the Corps did. It just creates a much more difficult fill, and there's some temporary issues with that as far as wave run up that creates ponded areas and things like that. Again, it's not something that can be overcome in a limited number of cases. But we would like to see large blocks of area that we could work in, and we can get creative with that if we have to.
Stephen, we only have one in the 400 block that's outstanding.
Yes, as far as I understand.
I know that owner very well, so I'll have a conversation with him.
And I'm happy to talk about any of the logistics on what the fill would look like and the impacts to their particular property would be. We've
Okay.
had a couple of those
Who
conversations.
would I, Sean, would that?
yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, quick question then. I think I just heard you say, if we basically fill in the in-transits and get a couple more dots on there, we've got a viable project up to the 800 block, right?
Yes.
And you can put all the volume within that 800. So should we make the contingency kind of the beyond the 800 block? That, we can't extend that project that way unless we get, I guess what I'm hearing is the hurdle's pretty small right now for us to get that 800 block viable project with all the volume. And I would be comfortable, awarding contingent upon getting a couple of more of those in. So that would give us the ability to be able to award the whole volume to Marinex and lock them down. I don't even know how we'd word the contingency, but if we've got 800 to breach is viable. I mean, if I look at that cluster right now, it's really a Front Beach cluster issue. Can't believe that came out of my mouth, but,
That's every weekend.
yeah. So, so anyway, to me, it sounds like we've got viability with 800 and down for the full volume. Why don't we put the contingency around that, and then we can go further north on that?
Or just approve it to that with the possibility of going higher if we get.
If we get there, we're not going higher, we're not going beyond 800 unless we get what we
I
need.
mean, if we get,
Yeah.
because, from Marinet's perspective, they don't really care where they put it if they get the contract. So if we're just talking about approving the contract, let's just say we'll put it up to 800, and if we can go higher, we'll go higher.
But we gotta get the in-transits in.
Yeah, we still need more
I understand.
under the
Yeah.
800.
Those in-transits have to be.
Yes, I guess,
Assuming they come
I'm
in.
assuming that, yeah.
If that's going to happen. David?
Well, my thing was, going back is, the worst case is if we said, go ahead, and then we had to come back and say, oh, we got change orders, just do this part of the beach. Again, that was kind of my question is that going to be like a huge, impact to the city's cost? Or is that?
A reduction in the scope?
Yes.
We built this scenario into the bid where we had a deduct amount should this area not be done. I think if we award the area and then go back to pull it out later, I don't know that we can force the contractor to stand by that amount. That's a legal question. But if we wait to award it, then we can wait to award that extra under a change order, and I'm confident they will honor that amount.
Well, again, we had a base amount and then a additional amount. And that's kind of where I was going at is, worst case is we have to scale back to the minimum amount or something.
Yeah, so,
because
there's a lot of scenarios that if it got down to, the day you actually have to make a decision and put pipe on the beach, where if there's one property right in the middle, how do you work around that one property? There's some engineering ways to work around it. There may be, legal avenues on what can and can't be done that haven't really been fleshed out in court, I'd say. So we can have that. You could make a project contingent on having a certain, or at least award of work at the south end based off of linear feet of beach that you have access to. So if you had 4,000 feet where you had all the easements, you could award up to a certain amount for that 4,000 feet. And if you have another, I wouldn't want to do this more than like 2 or 3 potential zones, but, and it looks like we wouldn't have to do that, but you could partition it. We can get creative. Ideally, we get these ones in and at least along that center block, and we would have a pretty easy go at the project.
Well, Steve, let me just ask you specifically. If we made a motion that said, hey, we can award the south up to the 9th, I think the 9th axis is where, we might have to look at that. The cluster of no's and the majority of the unknowns is that the 9th axis?
That's 8th.
Yeah. So if we go to the 9th axis,
Yeah.
is that one more?
One more up, right there.
We've got, maybe we could go to the 8th axis or whatever, but 8th or 9th axis, make the motion there and just approve it up to that point, contingent upon getting the easements and in-transits.
So I think we have 6 holes south of there, and they're not in transit, they're just holes in the, so how would?
To be worked.
Well, then go to 8th, then. Maybe 8th is 8th is going to eliminate, what, 4 of those holes?
Two of those
The house
holes.
south of 8.
So you'd have 4 holes if you went south of 8.
Is that workable?
Yeah, I think, honestly, if we eliminate, assuming the transit ones come in, the 2 properties, the one gray one at 4th and the red one at 5th, if we can get those 2 easements in, we have a very viable project. If we have that one there at Breach Inlet, we can continue the dune around that side would be ideal. And we can also work with around that one if we have to. They would not get a dune if we did not have an easement for them. But if we can make it contingent on those 2 at 4th and 5th, plus the ones in transit in that section, between 2nd Avenue and 8th, then I'd be very comfortable with that.
And Douglas, the 500 block has a sale that's happening on May 13th, right?
That's correct.
Do they know, though, that they may not get sand and be worked around? I mean, that's not doing anything for trying to sell
Current
your
owner does, yeah.
Yeah.
property either. They know that? All the owners?
512, yes.
All the ones that
Well-
have hard nose, they know that there's a high potential they may not get sand.
On your sheet 512, sorry, number 3 knows, number 7, 9, and 10 don't know that. We're trying to get to the principle. We've been stuck with EAs to this point.
Yeah, I think they need to understand the fact that they may not get sand.
Yeah, we've requested to get them on a phone call with Douglas and/or the mayor.
When you say EA, you're talking about an executive assistant?
Executive assistant.
Yep.
That's the level we're dealing with for the owners of the properties?
I would accept any help to get through the principle. Haven't been able to so far.
Okay.
So Douglas, we need a very specific motion on reaches, amount of sand, and contingencies.
That's correct. And dollar amount.
And
Did you say
dollar
that?
I don't know, it's late.
So you said south of the 800 access, right? Or 900 access?
The property just south of the 8th is a no right now, so I'm not sure what the house number is there, but I would.
714.
Yeah,
714, yeah.
so if we have that.
So maybe we
great,
should
but
exclude that one?
Yeah, so 712 from whatever the southernmost current green area is at, what's that, 110 or so? And we would recommend awarding the full permitted maximum for all these areas.
So the motion would be, make a motion to award the full 2.5 million cubic yards to Marinex for the full Wild Dunes project, and south of the 714 property, contingent upon the in-transit easements being received. And
They're not in transit.
And the gray ones as well.
Contingent on all easements being received.
Yeah.
And Wild Dunes Community Association signing and putting the money in escrow.
Yep, and the MOU needs to be executed and the money in the bank.
Douglas, does that ring all your bells?
See what I can do.
I'm not positive how Marinex is going to feel, and we'll just have to talk this through, because we won't be able to execute that contract until we continue down our saga.
We would at least be able to
Saga
execute a contract for the north end that we would need to have a change order for, hopefully shortly after that, for awarding the south end.
But Douglas, if your order is WDCA escrow agreement, money wired, I mean, that's going to take a week and a half, give or take. So it gives us a week and a half to keep pounding on these easements.
Right.
Got a couple of volunteers to
You
make some phone calls.
really need a second
You do.
to continue discussion.
Fair.
Second.
Second, thank you, Katie. So, I mean, it's going to be a week and a half-ish before
We actually sign a contract.
ready to sign a Marinex contract, right? I mean, I'm
That is
hoping we're in a
correct.
better spot by next Friday. Or we're meeting the contingencies of this motion by next Friday to get Marinex okay. Like I say, they've been such a good partner. We need to help nail them down as fast as we can.
I guess, should we have another amendment or to the motion that if we got 98%, 99%,
Of the rest of them?
Of all of it.
Yeah.
that we would go forward?
Yeah, what's the trigger to go further than 714, I guess, is that where you're going?
Well,
Yeah.
if we don't get the 512, or if some of these other ones that we can't locate, I mean, I guess, it sounds like it's not ideal, but it's possible to go forward. If we end up with one outlier,
Yeah.
we can go forward.
I think the city's in a good position with the motion, the way it stands, as leverage to put pressure on the ones that have not agreed.
That's true.
Just say, hey, look, we passed a motion, we just didn't include you. But
Just
we'll
for-
give you one more chance.
Yep. Go ahead, Douglas.
For clarity on that, and Stephen's suggestion was, so imagine next Friday, whatever it is, 10 days from now, we haven't met the trigger for the south end. Is council authorizing staff to execute an agreement to do just the north end at that point? Or are we holding anything, executing anything with Marinex until something gives on the south end? And we have a project on the south end. That's kind of the
I think
the
all three
bind.
of our recommendations is, we would prefer if we get the Wild Dunes Community Association agreement signed, get the escrow, everything's good on the north end, have the ability to sign with Marinex on that portion, see what we can get on the south end, and then sign a change order, if that's possible.
And if
If we get all the easements in before then, we could sign it all together.
That's correct.
But that
If-
would be the preference.
If we've met your trigger, when that time comes, 10, 14 days from now, we would sign it all. But if we haven't, we would only sign for the north end and then report back at the next available time on the status of the south end for you. At that point, Marinex is able to start moving their pipes. I mean, they're actively demobilizing from Hilton Head now, and I think they're not going to do that unless they have kind of the commitment that it's happening, something is contractually happening on Isle of Palms.
Yeah, well, I don't know, anybody else want to say something? My issue is this, I don't want to sacrifice sand on the south end of the island because we've got an issue up in the 9 and 10th block. If I'm here, we got a viable, we need those easements in on the south end, and we can say we're not going to go forward, but if we're getting in good shape and we got a viable project on the south end, I'd hate to see 2 or 3 people down there that refuse to sign, screw it up for everybody else and forfeit this project. That's not acceptable to me.
But I think that's why you put a percentage in.
Well, when I mentioned, I was saying, start at the 712, 714, going south. That's under the hope that we get everything. If there was a certain percentage between 712 and Breach Inlet that we didn't get, that we would still go forward. That was what I was thinking. If we got 99% of Breach to 712.
So we have 3 currently that are holes in that stretch. So I think to your point, if between now and 14 days from now, we get those 3 in and we have a viable project, that I think would allow us
Then
to.
we're good to go.
I think we're good to go.
But if we
have-
get 2 of those in,
But if we have some number less than that,
I think we
then,
still do it.
and then
That's,
Yeah. Is one of those 3 the hard no?
no, 714 is.
No, the hard no on the 500 block. That one's out. Is that one of the 3? No. That we're talking about?
512, and maybe we've called that a hard, that's the one with the pending sale.
That's a selling.
Yeah.
That's a
What are we
sale.
13.
So that's sort
Current owner
of,
said-
that's sort of a special
Yes.
circumstance. So that's
Yes.
not in the 3, or is it in the 3?
In addition to that, we have
2.
2 others.
no, in addition to that, we have 4 others.
4 others.
3 that are the theme houses and
No.
1.
Oh, no, I meant south of the.
South.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
yeah. 108. Between Breach Inlet and 712, we only have that one that's under contract. All the others are,
It's 2.
Most-
It's 2 that are,
Oh,
it's 2 that are the unknowns.
right.
Yeah,
And Rusty, we know who that,
Yeah.
one of them is.
Yeah.
yeah.
But even 512, you're saying, Sean, your note is the owner says he could sign?
Yeah, I think that'll go green.
You're talking about the red one.
No, the orange one.
512.
That's
Number 3 on your sheet,
Yeah, the new owner.
Yep.
But we have-
512.
But 108 is the likely, right?
Yes.
And 404 is
That's the red. Yeah. Or you think that's going to go yes?
I don't know that we can say 108 is likely. I think we're kind of.
I know her very well. I'll talk to her. She's like 91 years old, but her son's in California, is kind of controls what happens. But I know,
That's different. That's-
128, I think.
was that 128?
It's bad that we haven't, yes, she's counted as a yes.
Okay, well, I had the wrong number. Well, if you need some help on 128, let me know.
Yes, thank you, there, Jim.
Always willing to serve, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
I guess I still have a question. Don't go too far. So between 108 and 512, so that, up there, yeah, down to 512, there's one in the middle of that. So you're saying is if that one person doesn't agree, we don't have any kind of viable project?
I'm going to defer to Mac on this because we can place sand anywhere. Do you get into a legal risk of running into, are you doing something on somebody's private property, which is the whole purpose of getting these easements?
Right.
There are other projects where we've worked and built berms out around houses and things, even if it's a house that's falling down and there's kind of a, do that in the Outer Banks all the time. So we run into these kind of things a lot, and every community kind of approaches it in a different fashion. So it's really a council decision on how would you want to approach those situations. You build your dune just like you want to and tell them we're improving your property, or do you work around it, or?
Well, and again, that was, my question is, so it goes back to the worst case was we have to scale back the project because we don't have all the easements. If there's only that one between that area, is there some, can you work out that once we committed to Merrimack said, okay, you can dump 800 cubic yards of sand and here's where we want it?
Yeah. From our side, yes, we can work around it.
So that was my question, because if we move forward and said, let's award it based now just on the MOU and the money side of it, but that's why it's kind of viable. There is a fallback, is if we don't get all the easements, we can still have Merrimack meet their contractual obligation of placing sand. It just won't be where we
Put a big pile of sand out.
Yeah,
We would build a very thin, low berm across that property. It would be like a little dry sand area. You can't narrow a 200-foot berm to nothing and then back over 100 feet.
And again, I'm saying this is a worst case.
Yeah, but all that kind of washes out over
We won't
a
be
few
going
weeks.
back and telling Merrimack that we're abandoning the whole thing.
So can I ask the question a little differently then, because this might change the motion? If we're looking at a project now that's just left of 714 and going all the way down, we've got 3 homes that we're hoping to go yes. But if they did not go yes, we can just say, look, if you don't do the easement, you're not getting any sand, basically, for those 3. Is that what that's the viability of the project, but it's awkward.
But also, you would have potentially contractually obligated yourself to Merrimack to place the sand.
But what I heard is you could place 800,000 cubic yards on that stretch without those 3.
We can fit the volume within that larger area. For that particular parcel, it comes up to where does private property start and state property start, and you can't not place sand and just skip across because it's a discharge.
You have to come out to the property, you have to do a little jack-o'-lantern thing.
Yeah, and again, it's really easy for us to do. It looks weird for a while, and we wouldn't be able to build a dune or anything like that on that parcel, and it would affect the adjacent parcels, just the look of it after a project. But we can do that from the engineering side if the city thinks that any legal risk is acceptable, and I'm not sure what that may be, if there is any at all.
I would just say, Donnie, to go back, I would like to be able to come to you all in a month and just say, here's the list of the no's. These are the no's that indicate I don't object to the project, but I have this thing going on. I think you all could better analyze the risk of placing sand on the property. They might tell you, I have no issue with the project, I just don't like this part of the agreement. And Mac may be able to kind of give you assurances that there's not a realistic legal risk in doing that. Between now and then, from my perspective, there's so many different just alternatives and methods that it's very hard to get to a place of figuring out what a project might be with 12 holes in it, where I think 30 days from now, we can give you all of the information that you need to make an informed decision about how to place sand, what the contract with Marinex would look like.
I thought we don't have 30 days. We got it till May 17th.
But the stopgap would be awarding the contract for the north end now. That gets Marinex what they need to start moving pipe. That gives them the assurance that some major project is happening, and they would have to know, we have 30 more days to figure out this south end. It looks positive. There's, only 11 holes and they're shrinking, but I don't know that tonight, given the facts that we have, it's going to make anybody comfortable in making a potential gesture of an award on a project that we just don't know about.
Have we discussed with Marinex the concept of doing it this way, with awarding the north end and making the south end a change order? Has that been discussed with
I
them?
mean, that's how it was bid.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
That's how
specifically
the
laid out.
RFP was put together.
It was a deduct change order
Yeah,
for the south end.
It's not in the bid that we can add it. It was in the bid that we could remove the south end. I've talked with Tom Payne from Marinex, and he understands the situation and would be willing to honor the price that was bid. So I feel comfortable and very confident that he would do that. It's just not.
So can we do that and then say that we're going to have, if anything changes, goes south, if Marinex has an issue with this, and we'll have an emergency meeting to deal with this? I mean, I feel like we're.
Well, and we're doing the north first, too.
Yeah.
We're not even
Right.
getting-
Right.
Yeah, I would, to be fair to Marinex, I would want to have this, as quickly as we can, because if they're doing the north end, and again, they're going to be basing their future bid schedule off of the amount of work that they think they have. And if a project comes up that they would be bidding on in the fall, there's a month's worth of work at the south end that they.
No, I think we need to determine it for our own selves too as well. As quick as possible. We shouldn't be having that linger out there, but I think there's some criteria before we even award it to the north, for the north end. One, we just said we need to get the MOU signed. We have to get the money, the escrow money in. There's also seems to be 4 outstanding easements from Wild Dunes. I think we'd want to get those. If we're
Yeah,
saying we're
they're-
going to get them all in, we need to get them all in.
Yeah, they've told us
Yeah.
they are in the mail, but we don't physically have them.
And so we should get those in. And then I think in 2 weeks, we ought to, I think you ought to work really hard as you can on 2 weeks to come back to the, and we have a discussion around this at the Ways and Means as well, how we go forward. Or have a special council meeting at that point, but I don't think we should wait a month to let this linger out there and see where we are. And that if you do get all the stuff on Wild Dunes, you should go ahead and award it for that piece, as long as it's not going to cost us anymore. I don't know if we need something from writing from Marinex to say they're going to honor that, despite what, the way the contract was written. Because we're awarding the north end, but we're not deducting the south end yet. We're just kind of on a holding pattern. And I think that's what we want to portray to them and make sure that they honor that pricing for us. If they do that, then as soon as we get the Wild Dune stuff, enter into the contract, and then let's talk about this in 2 weeks if we have to and see where we are.
So we have to add to the contingency, we need the outstanding ones in Wild Dunes too, the outstanding easements. Yeah. To the motion.
But, yeah, I mean, the mail is so poor
Yeah.
here. I mean,
And we ought to track those ones down, because I think we ran into a problem, didn't we, on this end, where
Yes.
they FedExed or something to a PO box. They
Oh.
thought it was delivered, and
I thought you were talking
was-
about the waterway easement, because we had same thing there.
yeah.
Got-
all right, Douglas, so we need to withdraw this motion that sits out there and.
So is
award
the
north.
will of council to pause for 2 weeks on all of it?
No.
No.
Is the will of council to award it and reconvene in 2 weeks to figure out if the additional south end can be awarded? at
Award
that
the
point?
north end, contingent upon receiving the last 4, contingent upon WDCA escrow, contingent upon money coming in.
And
Fine.
contingent upon Marinex honoring the
Pricing.
the pricing for that, the way we're kind of chopping this up. And if they do that, all those things happen, then you can award it.
Do you want to withdraw that?
I withdraw my motion.
Get Katie.
You withdraw that?
Yeah.
Withdraw the
Thank you.
second.
Second.
With all these contingencies, sounds like a sure thing.
We just withdrew them all.
All right.
Motion has been
And then-
withdrawn. Now what?
And then I would make a motion to approve the Marinex contract for the north end of the island contingent on the, I believe it's 4 easements that are in transit and the approval of the escrow and the WDCA signing the, what is it? What am I saying?
The escrow agreement and
Escrow
the
agreement.
money.
And the money, yes,
Yeah.
and the actual money.
Transfer.
And Marinex agreeing to honor the.
And then, yes, and then that Marinex will agree to honor the pricing for the south end upon reconvening in 2 weeks to approve, hopefully. the south
Reconvening
end.
at Ways and Means to
The
consider.
2 weeks,
We'll have a special
that's
meeting.
May the
I'll make it a
12th, right?
council meeting.
Special council meeting.
Ways, yeah.
Yeah, is,
I'll second that.
He's going to be on it.
Hang on, Douglas. So all that's good, but it's for the max permit amount.
Yeah,
for that
1.2 million
Yeah,
cubic yards.
sorry.
For max.
It'll be 1.7 at the north end.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
1.7.
1.7.
Douglas, go ahead, sorry.
no, that's it. If I think the question, the Marinex bid, we know contractually is good until May
May 17th.
17th, and Ways and Means is the 12th. So if we have all of that information, we could just call a special meeting.
But
Just
the mayor
before-
also said he'd be out of town.
I will be out, yeah, but that's,
So,
yeah,
but
right
it can't
before.
be voted on. I mean, you can vote on it in Ways and Means, but it has to be voted on by.
No, we'll have a special council meeting.
Just right before Ways
We'll
and
have a
Means.
council meeting before Ways and Means.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're all clear.
Yep.
Okay. You're good, because you're not going to be here, but you're.
Yeah.
cool with that. Okay.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, Douglas, we got out of order here a little bit. So we need a discussion and consideration of the escrow agreement with the Wild Dunes Community Association. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mac, everybody's good, attorneys are good, we just need a signature at this point. And Douglas, I think that would be forthcoming pretty quickly. Our approval that we just did kicks off the 10-day cycle for them to send us money.
Can I
Right?
ask one question?
Yeah.
To Mac, there's no escrow agent involved with this, right?
There's not, no, and they've got, their attorney says they have the money. The
Yeah.
reason we changed it 10 days after the vote is it was 30 days upon receiving bids, that had already expired.
So the money's gonna come in, we're gonna get a separate bank account. Any interest accrued in that bank account that holds that goes to the Wild Dunes. And then the money release out of that is anytime we wanna release money out of it, we release money without any approvals.
That's correct.
Okay.
Are there questions on the WDCA escrow agreement specifically? You good, Stephen?
I think so. Just as a information, the way the payments would work for these contracts is when the dredge arrives on site and actually starts pumping sand, then they are owed 60% of the mobilization charge, which would be about $1 million or so. And then you would receive monthly invoices for the work completed to date. So we can work out that math, but assume 500 to 800,000 cubic yards worth of sand each month would be paid out. And then upon final completion, we would return the balance of the mobilization and any retainage that we had.
But so Stephen, to that comment, thinking about timing, Deborah, and we've got some money built into this current fiscal year, we've got some money built, are we really going to pay anything by the end of June? Probably not.
We may, in base case scenario, we may receive an invoice, but probably would not be paid until a few weeks after the end of June.
And it doesn't matter to you, just from a budgeting money flow standpoint, we'll need to think through that. Because I think, we may get, to your point, we may get an invoice mid-June, and if we have money, we'll figure that out. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Stephen, thank you very much. Douglas, anything else clear as just?
Got it. Thank you, Mayor.
There's mud.
Clear as
There's
mud.
mud.
There's a good one next on the agenda.
One item of new business, consideration of appointment of Robert Acero as new Director of Public Works.
Motion to approve. Second.
Douglas, would you like to add anything?
I would just like to say this is an honor and a pleasure to be able to nominate Robert for this position. He's been a huge asset to the city for his time here, and excited to see what he's able to do with the Public Works Department under his leadership. So very excited about it. So congratulations, Robert, and I would also like to,
The vote hadn't happened yet.
the other part of this is I just want to thank Donnie Pitts for his many years of fantastic service. He's a,
Don't steal my thunder, pal.
beyond being a great coworker, he is just a dear friend, and we'll miss Donnie tremendously, and thank you, Donnie, for everything you've done.
All right. Robert, check's in the mail, pal.
We should vote.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Donnie, come join me for a moment, would you? We have been twisting Donnie's arm, asking him repeatedly what he wants, and he wants nothing. So don't anybody write on social media that the city completely dropped the ball, didn't do anything for Donnie Pitts after 25 years. Donnie wants nothing.
Just to sing a song.
You know, it's, I don't think I've ever heard as many praises and compliments for a public works group than I have under your leadership. It's incredible. And we really appreciate what you've done for this community. And you've left it in good hands with Robert, as you've been mentoring him from the rec center up to the public works area. We just appreciate what you've done for this community, and you know this community is very appreciative of your years of service. So after 25 years, this is what you get, a piece of balsa wood with a gold-painted garbage truck on it that says Donnie Pitts, IOP Trash Boy, from 2001 to 2026.
I will say, after 25 years, that's a third of my life. I have a vested interest in the Isle Palms. I've made a lot of friends, from digging oysters from a duckbill with Douglas to him coming to the shop and me schooling him on politics and me proving him wrong daily. So 23 years of friendship, and I've had a lot of them, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. But after 25 years, it's time for change. I brought it up a level, I think, and I think it's time for Robert to give it his best shot. I think I chose wisely. When we started the new division within the Public Works Department, and there were some good candidates, some of which one was prior Charleston County Stormwater Division. I felt like that after observing Robert at the Recreation Department and letting him design and build the Stormwater Division, he would be the right choice. I didn't want someone to come in and do it the way they did it. I wanted him to do it the right way. And I think he's done a great job in the 4 or 5 years that he's been with the Public Works Department, and he will continue to build that department and carry it forward.
Thank you,
Thank
Donnie.
you, guys.
Robert, congratulations. Very happy to have you in this role. Donnie, you will be missed. He's already got his nameplate, man. He's done. He's gone. Donnie, your last day is Monday, right, officially?
Monday.
Yeah. So, again, we're not doing anything for Donnie, but walk across the street and tell him thank you. Thank you, my friend. Next item, boards and commissions report. Council committee meeting reports are attached. Board of Zoning Appeals, no meeting in April. Planning Commission minutes are attached. ATAX minutes are attached. Environmental Advisory Committee minutes are attached. Beach Preservation Committee minutes are attached. Ordinances, resolutions, and petitions. Second reading, ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance to regulate residential lighting. This has come through first reading, went back to committee as well as Planning Commission, and is now coming back as second reading. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Douglas, I know this started out with a huge piece, and we're down to like
Yes.
3 lines now.
Yep, yep, and I would just say this, to your point, this has gone back to the Environmental Advisory Committee, as well as the Planning Commission. And it is significantly edited since between first reading and second reading. They have added some exemptions to common things that they felt like were discussed as being things that shouldn't be objectionable, so they've added that list of exemptions, and it's there for your consideration.
Got a motion, a second comment? David, sorry.
I want to make a motion to amend it to read as the Environmental Committee's recommendation, which is on page 132 of our package. There was a completely different version from Environmental Committee and Planning Commission, and I'll elaborate on it if I get a second.
Well, if you're amending, you're making a motion to amend to approve, okay? And
Yep.
then somebody needs to second that, yes, okay.
Second.
So the Environmental Committee, I went back and watched both that and the Planning. Environmental Committee, this was close to a version that went through a year ago through Planning Commission, and then got stripped down, came to council in our first reading, went back to Environmental Committee. This was their recommendation. That went back to Planning, and it got stripped back down to what we were seeing in our package. I will, in just a minute, make a motion that we postpone, or not postpone,
You can defer.
defer it to a later date, because time-wise, I've watched 2 different councils spend an hour discussing this. I think they're close. I think if council spends a little bit of more time on this when we're not focused on our budget and payroll and beach renourishment, that we could probably get something that's actually reasonable out of it. I picked this version because it's the longer version, and I'd rather us go through, discuss it, and if we don't agree, chop things out, then try to figure out, do we need to add things back that got taken out? So that's kind of my opinion. So at this time, I'll also make a motion to defer it to our June meeting.
Second.
June, because I think we'll be out of the budget discussions and everything else, and like I said, I could see us spending 30, 45 minutes to an hour beating this out.
Are you talking about the June Ways and Means?
No, council.
Council meeting.
Council.
Nicole, was that all clear? Sure. All those in favor say
Wait.
aye.
Can I have a comment?
Sure.
We've got the noise ordinance, and, then we have the light ordinance. And people have not forgotten about the feeding the animals ordinance of last year. It just seems like to me that we're drifting very quickly towards an HOA. And there's a lot of people that do not want Isle of Palms to be an HOA.
Nicole, do we need to withdraw the first 2 motions? Sorry.
Well, it was a motion to approve, to get it on the floor to discuss it.
Right.
Then he wanted to move it back, he made a
Did
motion
I
to
make-
amend his motion so that we were discussing, that you were discussing this version of
Correct.
it. And he has asked to defer further discussion of that version to June, when there's less stuff on the agenda. Is that?
That's it.
But your first 2, fine.
So if we vote on the
But if
defer,
he's by deferring it, then it's just,
Yeah.
that ends
Then
the
we just
conversation,
stop
it's
all.
okay.
So
You
we're
don't have
just
to
voting
vote on
on
the
the
other 2.
deferral.
On the deferral.
Yeah, you're just voting on the deferral, you don't have to do anything else.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay.
Oh, hold on.
You have 3. Ashley, Jimmy,
We did nay?
Rusty.
Okay. Let's still pass this 6-3 then.
No items for first reading, resolutions and proclamations. I got a numbering change on each of these. Resolution 2026 should be 02. City Safety and Loss Control Program, if you make a motion for any of these, if you'll say waive the reading so we can save time.
First one, I'll make a motion to approve, waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next is Resolution 2026 should be 03, to allow alcohol and street closures for Lavello.
Motion to approve, waive the reading.
Rusty?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item is Proclamation 2026 should actually be 02, Boating Safety Week, May 16th through the 22nd, 2026. This is something we've done every year.
Motion to approve, waive the reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. In your packet, you've got departmental reports in the dashboard. You've got a capital projects update. I don't think there's really anything from a legislative update. We've got some noise around some IOP allocation from state budget, but nothing final yet. We do not need an executive session. There being no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Off record at 8:44.
You definitely owe me a Coke. And multiple jinxes.
You did all right.